Alright, so I wanted to jump in real quick here. It's not turn 70, and so I don't know that I will really play this one out. Perhaps I will, but I wanted to discuss some things real quick. So you can see the ritual is in effect. It's at Lothern, Angerial, and Gay and Vale. And I just wanted to cover real quick some of the reasons for the decisions that I've made leading up to this point. Just because, obviously, three turns from now, the ritual army is going to be dead. The ritual's almost over. There's not going to be any concerns, right? So I want to kind of discuss this because this is probably the most relevant turn for the first ritual. So you can see I have two of my three armies out here because basically I'm not feeling threatened. It seems that the scaling for the ritual armies changes depending on the difficulty you're playing at. I could be wrong about that, or maybe I'm just really overestimating the strength of the first ritual. Maybe it really is pathetic. But here's what we got, right? I don't even honestly. I built an army here, and quite frankly, I probably don't even need it. Looking at this army, like it moved into range this turn. It did spawn here on the east coast, so I was correct in my assumption for that. So it spawned here, it spawned on the east coast. It moved north to attack me at the Phoenix Gate, and yeah, with 12 units, frankly, I probably didn't even have to defend this. I can probably just win a field battle, but just to be certain, I made an army here, just to defend them. I couldn't see what they had in the army ahead of time, and one of the big reasons why I did this is I wanted a Phoenix, right? In fact, I'm gonna remove these because I don't need them. Give myself free up a little income. But I wanted a Phoenix, right? Well, what I wanted is a Great Eagle, because I know that they're going to have a Hell Cannon, right? And so the Phoenix Gate here, at level 3, it does not have any sort of flying creature. Here at level 4, it would have 2 Great Eagles. And then I wouldn't be concerned, right? Like, you pull your units far back into the city, maybe leave a couple on the gates, and like let them come to the gate and try to take it. But you go out with the 2 Phoenixes then and attack. In this case, I'm going to be able to just kind of step in here with this army, and now there's 0 chance of this playing out to any sort of disastrous effect, right? I mean, even looking at this army, like, couple of Chaos Warriors, fairly dangerous. Chaos Lord at level 8, not too scary. I mean, some Cavalry and War Beasts, which are going to be pointless because they are, like, this is a walled settlement. The Phoenix Gate is a walled settlement, so they're not going to get through. But the Hell Cannon is a little bit, like, it's somewhat problematic, right? I mean, we saw how much damage just some basic mortars did. I don't know what tier, Hell Cannons, I want to say, are tier 4 or 5 units. I'm not super familiar with Chaos. But that would hurt. It would really, really hurt, right? We've got White Lines of Trace. I mean, those are kind of going to go toe-to-toe with the Marauders. We've got the Gate Guard and the Archers with light armor. So the Gate Guard are similar to your Lothern Sea Guards, right? And then we have 2 Cavalry that aren't really going to do much. But so, like I said, I could have left this gate undefended. But I didn't know what was in this army, really, until this turn fully. When they spawned, I believe I saw they had a Hell Cannon. But anyway, so I wanted to show my movements. I did also move Alariel to the north. Now, obviously, this is overkill, right? I don't need her here for that. But my concern is, a turn or two ago, Nagarond declared war on me. And I'm just ever so slightly concerned that they might send an intervention army at me. I mean, I could send one at them right now, which maybe I'd actually like to do. That'd be kind of interesting. Where are their ritual sites? But so anyways, my concern is if I spawn a ritual army, or if they spawn a ritual army, where's it going to land, right? Like, perhaps it'll land near Angerial, but even here, I don't actually have walls on this settlement, which, looking at that, also kind of concerns and disturbs me. I'm really going to need to replace something in here. So it's probably going to be this trinket building. Yeah, we're going to have to get rid of this right now because this settlement really ought to have walls. Whether or not it's part of the ritual, it's a vulnerable spot of ingress into the island. So anyway, like a ritual army might spawn here, but I mean, my troops are out here now, but I wouldn't have been concerned about it. Like, the problem is if something spawns up at this settlement, I don't know. Now that I'm looking at it, maybe I will pull back to Angerial just in case, because I do have this army up here, and that should be resolved next turn. So it's tough. It's tough to strike a balance, right? And this is why I've been hesitant to confederate Everest, because then I'd just spread myself even thinner, right? I might actually be able to intercept the Chaos armies when they spawn. Usually in the ritual campaigns, the ritual armies that spawn are generally going to spawn in the same or very similar locations. I do believe it changes over time, and if you have a bunch of armies stationed right at the point where they spawned in last time, they're not going to spawn there, at least not in my experience. But so typically, it also depends on which faction you're playing as. Playing as Alariel, I've had the ritual army spawn right here in the center of her province. It seems super weird to me. Maybe there's a lore explanation for it. I hate it, but that's what happens. But anyway, yeah, as Tyrion, I find they generally spawn on the west or the east coast, and that's what happened this time. But so yeah, I just wanted to cover that. So real quick to pull back to this, the reason my armies are out here is because, I mean, the ritual army's up here. I guess I'm not feeling super threatened. Again, now I've decided to pull Alariel back towards Angerial because I realize that if they do land an army here, this is going to be in a lot of danger. Very vulnerable territory. But basically, I'm moving these armies out to attack Sartosa, right? I'm kind of gearing up for this because I'm confident that the ritual is going to end without issue. It wasn't until Nagorand declared war on me that I had any concerns whatsoever. And again, I don't really... This early on, I would be surprised if they do it. I feel like I don't frequently see the AI send ritual armies anyway. Let's see. What if I try to... see... So I could... this should mean that they have that much money. I guess I don't know that for sure, but... Let's look at these people. They should be broke. Yeah. So it depends on their economic strength. I don't really know that Nagorand has 10,000 to their name, but it seems possible that they could send a strong army that would greatly interfere with my plans here. So yeah, so just wanted to cut in, get a little bit of introduction here, just so you can see like what my thoughts were in response to what happened with the ritual, and especially with the declaration of war from Nagorand. So with that being said, we're going to continue to move forward. We'll catch up back on turn 70 and review again there. Alright, so here we are on turn 70 now. We got a glimpse of what was going on during the ritual, and that really hasn't changed. I moved Alariel back down south here to kind of keep things safe and secure, even though I'm not really sure that I'm going to need to, but just in case. I don't know, map situation hasn't really changed. Trace and Illyrian are at war with each other, kind of interesting. As a matter of fact, the Norska have been wiped out in the north, and a lot of their lands have been taken over by the Dark Elf faction of Harganeth. And in fact, just this past turn, Everest declared war on Harganeth, and then Harganeth declared war on me. So, as is inevitable in many of your High Elf playthroughs, I'm at war with the Dark Elves now. Like, it happened to me. It wasn't a thing I chose, it just is a thing that happened. But that's okay. I mean, we'd want to go to war with them eventually. It's kind of going to be a pain. Oh, man. Because I'm starting to ramp up to want to confederate Everest. I mean, you can see they're trending. They used to be stuck at about 85. Now it's trending towards 125, right? So likely I'm going to be able to confederate them, especially if they take a spanking from this army. But then if I confederate them, then I take a spanking from this army. So I have to be able to deal with that. Or I want to position myself to deal with it before we really get to that. Now, I kind of wanted to see what their strength is, because the Pirates of Sartosa are very weak, and as you can see, my little invasion is about to land. Yeah, I don't know. I wonder, do they have an army here? It doesn't look like it. They have to have an army somewhere, but I haven't quite caught where it is. Perhaps it's sailing home or something like that. So I'm not sure about that, okay? There really isn't too much to discuss. The last several turns have just been, you know, when we last looked, not turn 67, but turn 60, you know, I was still recruiting troops, hadn't started the ritual. Basically, all I've done since then is move troops in response to the ritual, complete a couple of pieces of research, and continue moving my army, right? You can see Like I said, I'm about to hit Sartosa. I kind of have Alariel hanging out at Angerial because I still really... I mean, I have 3 turns left on the ritual, and I don't trust the Dark Elves. Why should I? In fact, I should actually move this army back. I did want to note, because I don't know if I really want to keep this army, or at least it's difficult to afford it right now, so I'm not convinced that I'm going to keep it once the ritual is over. I may want to disband it. So I'm actually pulling the heroes out of that army for right now. I wanted to send this hero over to scout because I know that this is originally inhabited by a high elf who they appear to be dead. That's unfortunate. I guess I don't really need to scout it. Womp womp. Maybe they exist somewhere. Maybe I just go over here and discover more dark elves and get myself attacked. Well, so yeah, the fact that I can just hover over this and I can see that they don't own any of it anymore. I mean, that person's dead unless they have some weird territory further inland, which I'm not going to play the guessing game of trying to find it. So that was the plan with this noble, because I'm really debating just disbanding this army and then recruiting it again when I think I need it. Maybe I'll just leave it because it's not that expensive. But in the meantime, I can do something like sending this noble up here and starting to steal technology, or not steal technology, but influence, which I'm not even using, but regardless, like, I've done a decent job of building up influence. It's not really too hard with the way they've changed how the campaign works. It used to be really important to spam out these, like, a hero having secure influence pretty frequently. It's not as important now. The other change I'm making is I have this handmaiden coming down south, because I pulled this handmaiden out of Alistar's army to scout down here so I could discover, even though I haven't seen anything, I've technically was able to discover the Tomb Kings, Khemri, because I frequently see them as one of the best potential, like, neutral allies for the High Elves, right? If you look down here, all this desert territory sucks. Like, we wouldn't want to occupy any of this. At least that's not going to be, like, maybe if you want to conquer the world, sure, but the next place you're going to want to go is west, because all of this dark elf territory is highly suitable for us, right? We can't see that at this moment, but I think you can believe me when I say that it is. The dark elves would also be well suited here on the elven, like the high elven territory. Anyways, the Tomb Kings frequently end up taking control of these southern areas. It looks like they're struggling a little bit now, so maybe we'd want to help them out. But it's just a trade partner, right? It's a strong, large, neutral trade partner that we can just party ourselves with for now until the end of the campaign, which would be really nice. In fact, probably something you can do, and perhaps I should have done sooner in this campaign, was try to find them. Though, if I go and look now, you'll see it can be kind of difficult because... Ooh, they had... Oh, that's right. Okay. Yeah, now obviously it won't be difficult to make agreements with them. But you can see, like, basically with the Tomb Kings, the stronger you are, the more they like you. So the fact that I've now gotten enough great power rating, that's what's going to allow me to be friends with them. It doesn't really... It's tougher at the beginning of the game, right? The other big event that happened to notice is the Age of Discovery. So remember before I was talking about my concern with researching that technology that would discover all major port owners because that would make me vulnerable to the Dark Elves? Well, now, not only have the Dark Elves already discovered me and declared war on me, but also this event has occurred, and as you could see, my diplomacy list is greatly expanded. Ooh, in fact, we've got a really easy pick right here with the Order of Lore Masters, another High Elf faction. Perhaps could confederate them later. I'm actually really glad to see he's powerful despite having so little territory. But again, valuable trade partner. Let's take a quick look here and see if we can discover any others. Chevalier de Lyonesse. And see, this is kind of the problem is, you know, they don't like me and they don't have anything positive towards me. And they won't accept a non-aggression pact. So my best chance is... I already have one with Khemri, right? The Tomb Kings. So my best chance is to continue with that. The Lizardmen are usually pretty neutral. Yeah, and if possible, I wouldn't mind Now, see, the Hunts Marshal's expedition, he loves me, man, but he's at war with all of the lizardmen. So, the question here is, well, you know what? I know he'll take it, so I'm going to do it. Get a trade agreement with him. That is going to hurt my reputation with the lizardmen. But they already won't accept it anyway, so... see if we can get a little bit of action going here. Eat some, maybe. Come on, buddy. I can't really do anything with them at all. Yeah, sad. Okay. It would be nice if I could get a treaty with Hexwaddle. I don't think it would last, though. Yeah, I know they're not going to like my treaty with the Hunts Marshal's expedition, so you could consider that maybe a mistake. It might have helped me to not ally with the Hunts Marshal's expedition and to try and get alliances with some of these groups. Hexwaddle, Last Defenders, maybe Itza. You can see I can actually establish trade agreements with all of them. But with a little research, I should be able to help fix that up anyways. And I don't know, I'm not that concerned about it. You can see even just a handful of trade partners helped me out a lot. If I look here, producing, exporting 84%, 33%, 84%. Yeah, I mean, I'm not too surprised that, yeah, so it looks like I'm pretty well saturated on trade anyway. It's gonna kind of be a problem when I have, when I get rid of Uvares, but I should be able to add Khemri, right? And so hopefully we can get maybe another trade partner, but for now it's helped my economy pretty decently, right? Not tremendously, but a little bit. So that's kind of what's been going on. The major event is really the port stuff happening. That Chaos Army attacked me up here, and I auto-resolved it, and it was ridiculously not even close. Again, I kind of feel like I didn't even need to recruit this army. But now that I have it, I may as well make use of it. And especially because, you know, looking at things up here, oh man, they love me. And I'm so sick of trying to get Illyrian to like me. Oh, and they still are going to love me anyway. We'll see. I might try to confederate Trace at some point. Or for now... Yeah, non-aggression pact. I mean, maybe I shouldn't have taken non-aggression with them. Maybe I should have just wiped them out because it would be simpler. But again, for now, like, that's not really in the immediate future. I'm not really worried about that. I'd probably rather fight Illyrian and take over the West instead. Like, I don't think that they're gonna confederate with me as easily, right? Even if my relations with them is good. The one last thing that I forgot to mention, I absolved myself of the Sword of Cain. Another event came up where it was going to grow in power. It would have worsened my diplomatic relations with all factions even further. It would have worsened public order and upkeep. I know I keep talking about how Tyrion and Alariel have some skill points to help offset that, and I don't even have those yet as Alariel, so that's part of the reason why. But frankly, the minus 40 diplomatic relations with all factions was something I didn't want to incur. You can see that's part of what was holding me back here with Illyrian. So I would say if you want to play that diplomatic leaning game, you don't want the Sword of Cain. You want the bonuses to your diplomatic relations to pay off, right? You don't want them to neutralize the problems caused by the Sword of Cain. You want those things to pay off. And so you can see here, like, the -3 with treaties with Trace is nothing compared to plus 40 rulers tolerance to Eataine, which that's going to be from those skill points and other, like, skill points, equipment, stuff like that. I really don't want to... Oh, we'll see. Maybe at plus 50 I can confederate them. Maybe we just confederate the whole island and start fighting off land. But that's kind of in the distant future, right? For now, what I want to do is wrap up this fight on Sartosa. I'd like to confederate Uvares, and I would think in just a handful of turns that will be much more likely or easier to address. But so that's kind of the short-term plan here. Take out Sartosa. Shortly thereafter, once I feel I'm in position, and depending on what happens with Harganeth, confederate Uvares. Go around and try to wipe out some of these outlying territories of Harganeth. Probably retake the Sword of Cain. That's the one thing that could be a mistake, is that I don't own this territory. So it's possible for Harganeth to slip in and take it, or even for like Trace to go in and take it and start becoming powerful for no reason. So just some potential. There's again with many things in this game. There's always a balance to the decisions you make. There's good things and bad things that can happen as a result. But with all that aside, I'd really like to see if I can get into here and besiege them and just see what this looks like. Looks like I'll have to fight it out. I don't really feel that I should. Quite frankly, I'm gonna try to quick save and auto resolve and just kind of see what happens. Worst case scenario, I lose these white lines of Trace. Could be a problem because I won't get them back. I just don't think that this is really... It's going to be kind of tiresome to play out. We're basically just going to do the same thing that you've seen many times. I'm going to sit facing their walls, pound them with archers. They have a handful of units that can shoot back. The mortar's kind of going to be an issue, but not really because I have phoenixes. And so, like, I'll have phoenixes, great eagles, a bunch of, like, artillery and archers. You know what? Maybe we do play it out. Just because I can see that with the balance of power, I'm going to take losses that I really don't feel that I would deserve on this fight. And just to kind of show what it might look like to besiege a capital city that's fully leveled up. I don't know how many of these we're really going to get, so I think it would be a good one. The vampire, the Dreadfleet capital, that was kind of a bust. I went there and that was an easy auto resolve, and quite frankly, I think that the auto resolve results of this would be decent as well. I just think that maybe it would be valuable to play this out to see what something like this looks like. Like, how could I do better than, 60-40, right? Because I think I can. So I'm gonna take a look at that. We'll try it out and see how it goes. Oh, and we got the corner, so this will be a really easy province to besiege. It will depend on where my reinforcements come from. But basically that point on the corner, if I can destroy those two towers, they won't really be able to fire back on my units. I'll be able to position and siege them. So we'll have the reinforcement army coming from there. I would say that this is going to have a sight line of about here. So we're just going to want to put this about here. Maybe I do want to put them more like over here. Because ultimately what I'm going to want to do then, after I take out this tower, I'm going to want these archers to fire, basically, or these bolt throwers to fire down this lane, right? And the same thing with these reinforcements once they come in. So we'll kind of see what that looks like once that happens. I'll throw the phoenixes over here, see if we can get them in on the mortars. Most likely they're going to leave the mortars in the town square. Hopefully that means that they'll be out of range of even shooting at my stuff in the first place, which actually looks pretty likely. We're not gonna rely on that, and as a result I'm also gonna kind of put my units a little further back. You know what, let's go like this and like this, and we'll put some of my heroes out front. Ooh, I do have a couple of nice little spells I can use now as well. And here we go. I don't necessarily want to move that mage into range right off the bat. We're just going to fire upon this. Yeah. And they don't even have really units in place to defend against these either, so that's really nice. Looks like they have decently strong towers, but again, as you can see, they're firing at my heroes, not my artillery, so that's great. That's exactly what I want. Save up some Winds of Magic here, maybe drop some comets on them. And those bloated corpses I was a little concerned about initially, but as you can see, it's not really going to be a problem. So I don't necessarily need to move these. I don't know if moving them is going to be the most valuable use of their time. You know what, why don't we do like 2 here and 2 here. Hopefully that'll keep them out of range of this tower. It doesn't actually look like it. Actually, you know what? Let's just have Yeah, I'd like to get stuff into position here. And then this second army really only has Alistar, but so we'll run him out there. Got a couple of Great Eagles. I don't really foresee a big need for using these. We'll probably have them land on the walls at some point here, but not to start out. I'm going to want Spearmen and Archers and Great Eagles and White Lines of Trace, which I'm not going to use until late in the fight. So, kind of see how it goes. Looks like these did take some damage. Yeah, the Rotting Promethean's gunnery mob probably had a couple shots off. You can see this Phoenix already killed that bloated corpse and then just walked away. Splendid. Perfect. So this Phoenix is going to land. This bloated corpse is going to explode right on top of this artillery. It's going to be magnificent. Bam. With the second Phoenix getting in there, that'll help as well. See, now I'm going to scoot these over just a little bit so they shouldn't be fired upon by that tower. And, yeah. That's pretty much all we got going on here. Ooh, they did bring back more ghouls. I mean, it says low threat, but I don't want to... Like, I don't really want to risk it if I can help it. They're a little bit slower than me. Yeah. Ooh, yeah, and they got the guns on them too. Okay. 22. I'll wait a little bit, let my power recharge a little bit more. Yeah, so you see, I gotta micromanage these a little bit here, but... So the whole reason that you put these on the line is, right, they fire downrange like that. So even if they were to misfire... It's still gonna do pretty significant damage to anything on that line, if that makes sense. I don't think the cannons were destroyed, but they're just abandoning it anyway. Yeah, this unit can barely keep its morale up. Kind of got them scattering to deal with these units that they really don't need to. We'll pull those out just for safety. I don't have any idea why these are moving. Where are you going? Just... You're good, dude. Just chill. Chill there. You killed the tower. Now you shoot the things. Alright. We're definitely at full mana, so we are going to cast a Comet of Cassandora. I'm just trying to find what I think might be the right spot. Yeah, because you can see they're kind of moving stuff out of the way here now. Let's just drop it right there. I'd like to get some spells on these Sirens, because I know the magic damage will be pretty effective on them. See how this one looks. There it is. Oh, it's looking good. Bam. So the reason that we want to blow up all these towers, though, something I obviously didn't really discuss, is because now... What's the range on that? Yeah, I just need to keep them... So now I can move all of my units into range like this, and they're not going to get hit by the enemy towers as they move in. Same deal over here. As long as I keep mine out of firing range of theirs. Ooh, so that's pretty much, it's pretty much on that line. So I feel like right about here. And now we pretty much just let it go. Like, kill all these units here with my bolt throwers. Again, maybe you consider this cheesing it out, but that's like we have artillery and archers, right? If I had a bunch of melee troops, I'd be storming the castle, but that's not what we have here, so that's not the strategy that we go with. Boom, another comet. Victory's in our grasp. Archers haven't even taken position. Yeah, so like I said, this one's going to turn out even better than I thought. So imagine that auto-resolve. Imagine each of my units lost 50% of their HP. This obviously should be looking just a little bit different. Now, unfortunately, my Lothern Sea Guards... This squad of archers is not quite in range, which is a little bit unfortunate. We're going to have to move into their attack range. Kind of let them shoot us a little bit here, but that's alright. And they're not going to because they don't even have their ranged units on the front. Beautiful. Hilarious. Yeah. So, yeah, this is one way to perform sieges. Particularly effective against... particularly effective with factions that have a lot of missile units, right? I don't think that this is going to work, but we're going to see if we can maybe get some snipes out from these. Yeah, and you can see we just have a million missile units. We're going to move these up. Have them start posting on the walls. I don't know why they don't just give us this battle. It's clearly over. Oh, your troops have uncovered hidden foes. Let's shoot them with a million archers. Yeah, I mean, clearly this fight is over. I'm just gonna, honestly, I just will cut the rest of this. I'm gonna go back and, actually, I'm probably gonna edit out, well, we'll cut it here. We'll cut it here. No need for too much debate. Yeah, so, again, as you can see, there's a reason why I played this out. I mean, I have a ton of archer units. I have a bunch of artillery. You're supposed to use your artillery to clear out towers and units, and I'm not going to, like, just... I mean, yeah. It just... Even if they had marched... Obviously, if they would have marched out, they would have been slaughtered even worse. Though, frankly, there's still room for improvement on the siege AI. But regardless, there was no, like... There is no way that they... Like, maybe with Defender's Advantage and me playing super recklessly, they had the kind of outcome it predicted. But yeah, this is what it should look like, right? Lost 70 units... Yeah. Yeah. So now we've occupied Sartosa, and I don't even know where in the heck... Oh my god. Hey, look at that. We could have lost those units and re-recruited them. Nice. We'll just leave them in standard stance. Okay, I do want to grab that handmaiden. Nope, we already did. Tyrion's just gonna stay. We'll apply some skill points. What will we apply them to? My Swordsmaster, I actually want to get the healing spell on. Okay. So, this obviously I just want to be like an economic and defensive bastion. Something interesting to note, if you go in and do the math, this building isn't actually worth it. I think it could be worth it if you can get a trade deal at a low level playing as Sartosa, right? But so, like, if we go and look at this, I mean, well, so what? Was that 3 spices or 2 spices? 2 spices production. Let's go to trade, and my 2 spices, exporting 100% of them, gives me 34 income. I'm not, you know, resource, well, it says resource value, right? All of these range from, like, the lowest 10 for iron, but these are more luxury. So, like, let's say 15 to 20. Let's be generous. Say each one of these is worth 20 gold. Okay, so that's 60 for golden idols, 40 for exotic animals, 40 for dwarf beer, 40 for spices. 60 plus 40 plus 40 plus 40 is going to be 180, and then 3 elven trinkets. Versus this, right? Even versus this, 180 and 3 elven trinkets versus this. This building is worthless. Well, yeah, well, it's worthless. Unless you are Sartosa and you take it only in the early game and you have a trade partner. Yeah, it's worthless. Just a little bit of quick math. There's some successful quick math for you. I actually kind of want to see if I put him back out on the sea. Yeah, he'll get replenishment instead of attrition. The classic. We'll probably end up leaving Alistar behind for... Well, maybe not, because Tyrion has this... He got a movement speed bonus. 8 turns remaining. So I might leave Tyrion here a little bit, just to help diminish the corruption until I can get some buildings built and we can manage it. We're going to want that, because then I can kind of walk out and grab this Skull Reef real quick, and then have Alistar group back up with Alariel, and have her move back up. So I'm kind of curious to see what happens next. I don't want to confederate until this has been dealt with, but frankly, I almost feel like if I confederate and then they attack Tor Koruali, that might be a better situation for me. I want to just see what happens over the next turn. See if maybe they lose this army, but I don't want them to lose this army if they can retake Elasili instead, but they don't have the forces to do that. Yeah, he's scary weak right now. How do you control this much territory for this long in the game and you just are still this weak? This has always been Yves problem, even before they were actually a playable faction. So real quick, I want to see, yeah, Alariel can still move. I don't want to move her yet because I want to see, just want to make sure I'm safe for the end of the ritual. Any heroes I can use? Nope, that's a lord. Any buildings I can make? Oh boy. Mage Tower upgrade, Empty Shrine of Asuryan, where I wanted to build that. This can't go. Those could go. Don't I need to upgrade this? No, this gave me hero capacity for mages. So I think that's what I'll take here as well. Hero capacity for mages, wouldn't that be nice? Because then I should be able to run one out and start stealing technology. I also meant to put one in Alistar's army. Well, we got some more heroes to play with. Let's just take a quick look at that. I know I kind of want another mage in Alariel's army. While she's certainly a powerful mage, her magic is like all over the place and just has, I don't know, like all defensive stuff here, offensive stuff here, but kind of some obscure ones. They're great spells, but so maybe a different kind of supporting mage, or really just like a fire mage or a celestial mage. I think I'll probably actually, maybe I'll transfer that high mage, or the heavens mage from Tyrion's army, well, into hers. But then what do I put in Tyrion's? I want to substitute with something. I do feel like the... Ooh, see, in here we could get an entrepreneur for income from all buildings, but I don't feel like that's going to be something that I really want to... I don't want to waste one of my 2 mage slots on that. Well, and first Alistar needs one. Oh, I can actually get metal mages? I believe that's new. Feebling Foe, Melkoth's Mystifying Miasma. That's kind of interesting. This would be nice too. Metal magic. Is this really worth it? Might do it just because it's interesting. Well, I don't think that's really what we need here. Looking at fire magic, maybe life magic. Actually, I do think life magic would be good. For Alistar. Income from, words say from Phoenix units. Negator. Don't really like any of these too much. Maybe I'll take this because I do kind of want Alistar to be a little bit more defensive. Well, I say that, but then I've been using him in a support capacity. Well, eventually his army will get upgraded. Maybe it's not super important decision at this time. Now, I'm bringing down that other handmaiden to join him. Or I was, but I don't know if that's what I actually want. Well, I say I don't know. I know that's not what I actually want. What I want is to put a noble in his army, a mage, and a lore master of Hoeth. Ooh, this would be really nice. And because if I give him a noble, which sadly I can't afford, ooh, this would be perfect. Then he'll get that casualty replenishment, so I don't need this down there. I basically just wanted to swap this handmaiden out for this other one, because this one's going to sit in Lothern for a long time to provide an income bonus to the province. Or not to the well, yeah, to the province, right? I was going to say settlement, thought I had mixed up my words. But yeah, income from all buildings, plus 15, 15%, so it would be another 600 income just for having this hero sit in Lothern. The upkeep is 161, so it's still going to be 450, which that's not bad, right? Like, that's still going to be better than 2 Elven Fairgrounds, just to literally have this one hero just sit in a province. And that's, I don't know. If I wanted to meme, I'd say stonks. That's just how High Elf economy works sometimes. So anyway, yeah, what else do we have to do here? Research, pretty much what I said last time. We finished the Lothern Seaguard recruit rank. I grabbed gem setting for income from industry buildings. I'm currently working on recall colonists for upkeep for Lothern Seaguard reduction. You can see that'll finish in 10 turns, so you can imagine that's what we're going to stick with, right? I don't know if there's really too much to review otherwise. You know, like I said, the last 10 turns were basically me just sailing around and prepping. We've already gone through diplomacy for this turn. Oh, are there any new buildings? I did manage to build the court of the Phoenix King here in the Straits of Lothern. In fact, I feel like this province is pretty much complete. I just need to finish upgrading these two buildings. But so this is what Lothern's going to end up looking like. This way I can recruit shielded Lothern Sea Guards. I have a bunch of economic buildings. I still have the ability to recruit bolt throwers here. I will be able to get whatever kinds of dragons I want. I'm going to have the mage building for research rate and hero capacity increase. And then the walls of the Glittering Tower. Here in Calidor's Repose, we're still building this province up, but you can see it, like, I'm pretty happy with the province of Calidor, right? It's like, this is, I mean, the Dark Elves are at war with me now, so I don't want to have to come back over here to defend every little attack if I can help it, or at least buy myself some time. So we've just got walls, growth, and a little bit of economy. Safari, this one kind of obvious. I mean, again, nothing's really changed here. We did build the Library of Hoeth because you can't even build a mage tower here, but this is why you take this in the first place, right? For increased capacity and recruit rank for your mages and your lore master of Hoeths. And then I also grabbed the Elven Court because this will give me more nobles. So finally my hero capacity is starting to play out. Same thing here in Avalorn. I actually deleted the growth building here because we don't need it because it's at tier 5 now. Replaced it with the mages building, upgrading it to tier 5. What am I going to build here? Pretty much, well, we have the mages building. I want to build a dragon's lair because we do have the exotic animal bazaar. It would be kind of cool if I could get bolt throwers in here for recruit rank, but I'd rather have the Lothern Sea Guards to take advantage of this so that I can build fairly competent armies here as well, right? Like, going forward from here, I'll be able to build Lothern Sea Guards. I won't be able to get Phoenix Guard, but you can see I can just do Sea Guards and Archers and then a handful of Dragons, right? And so I want to get the Dragon building, and I'll get the Embassy as well because I have an open slot for it, and we do have a port here. It'll increase my trade income. If I look here, you can see my trade income's getting pretty good. 5% of that is 330. So building an embassy and getting 5% trade increase faction-wide, that's... is there any way I can see that more broken down? Trade... yeah, it doesn't show you the, like, 5% increase from the embassies. But if you look at that, like, I don't know what the base value is, so I guess it's hard to say. But still, that's... right now, a 5% increase to that trade income would be 330, which is worth more than this, and I produce so dang many elven trinkets, and it's hard to export them, right? 41% exported? That's because three of my four trade partners can produce them. So they don't need them as exports. So that's kind of why maybe the Lizardmen would have been a good choice, but really having any, like the Tomb Kings will be a great way to export my Elven Trinkets. But yeah, okay. Next 10 turns. The ritual should wrap up. I'm probably just going to move Alariel out the next turn anyway, because I'm going to be ready for that. I'm going to want to grab this Skull Reef real quick. I don't necessarily need the money, but that would be enough to fund my 2 upgrades here, which would be nice. And just give me a little bit of supporting money. Sartosa, I do want to build this, right? This is a great building. Income generated, public order. Obviously, those will be great for a territory that's going to suffer initially because it's going to have a lot of corruption and it's just recently conquered. It already has the public order building, which I'll probably leave for the money. Build an embassy. We have a port, so it'll get that extra 10% income as well. Elven Court, archive building, and Vintner if we can fit it in, which I think we can, but so we'll see. We'll have to get there. But yeah, basically the war plan now, I want to move north, right? I might leave Tyrion here for a turn or two to just ensure public order stays positive, or like get it up to a comfortable point and then leave. I want to, so like I'll take a turn to grab this, send Alistar over to meet up with Alariel, and then we want to push up this continent. I'm going to want to confederate Yvoress in the next 2 or 3 turns, like definitely within 5 turns, but basically once I feel I'm in a comfortable position to hold northern Yvoress. Okay, I want Kotik in the long run. I'm very willing to sacrifice this territory in the north to the Dark Elves to just buy myself time to get into position. So basically I want to see what happens next turn, how things at Elasili resolve, and then we're going to move up on them. Like, then I move up the East Coast. It looks like I have the money. Like, I want to build up this army a little bit just to secure this, and then once we kind of sweep around, I'll be able to send this army up and perhaps harass some of their territory, or at least even grab the Shrine of Cain and make sure nobody else can sneak that in. It would be great to eventually confederate Schrace. Oh, wow, they're insanely happy with me now, so hopefully that won't take too much longer after. And then, yeah, I would like to build one more army if I feel that I have the finances, just to kind of keep them stationed around Lothern. Maybe if there's some sea treasures we can sweep up, that'd be nice, but I don't want to leave this totally undefended, right? It would be nice to have some kind of army floating around this territory so that when something from the Dark Elves inevitably shows up on my shores, I'm able to mount a proper defense instead of just throwing away this province over and over again. So that's the plan for the next 10 turns and kind of the bigger picture for 30. We're going to focus on the eastern coast for the next 10 turns. Should basically just be a few turns of moving and then conflicting with the Dark Elves. And we'll kind of see how that carries over. We still haven't made a decision about Illyrian. I am leaning a lot more towards just fighting them and wiping them out, especially because they're still so weak. How are you so weak? How are they so weak? How is Yves so weak? What are you guys doing? You have a ton of territory, but whatever. So with that being said, yeah, there weren't any battles from the last 10 turns either. So we're just going to go ahead and we're going to move forward and meet back up on turn 80. So we'll see where we're at there. So here we are on turn 80 now. You can see that the ritual has been successfully completed, and if you're looking at the mini-map, or if I zoom out, you'll also see that I've confederated Yves at this point in time. So let's kind of review where we left off. You know, we had just taken Sartosa, trying to make sure the ritual didn't wind off without a hitch, and we're going to move onto the west coast and then move north. So that's been very successful. Actually, once I beat Sartosa, or once I fought the Pirates of Sartosa here, at some point, a turn or two later, they offered me a peace treaty, which shows that they're kind of on their last leg. They're facing a lot of pressure. It also indicated to me that Yves was probably going to have just a favorable enough disposition for me to confederate, and so they did. As a result, when I confederated, they had a little army at the shrine, and then Eltharion had an army here where their last territory was, and I don't know what Eltharion was doing, but that army was pretty beaten up. I don't think it was capable of taking this city. I ran Eltharion back to Yves and actually got chased down by the Vampire Coast. The Pirates of Sartosa attacked me here. I had to play it out. I'll review the battle, but I'll go pretty quick because it was a pretty minor skirmish. They only had 4 units to actually bring against me, but it was just that Eltharion's units were so badly damaged that I would have lost the auto resolve, and in fact Eltharion gets wounded in the fight, so a little bit sloppy on my part, but it'll be at least a good demonstration of how to use abilities to win fights and how to kind of target different units against their counters, right? It maybe could have been a battle that could have gone a lot worse for me, but it turned out to be a seemingly pretty easy fight. The only problem is Aranis Assault Spite, the legendary lord of the Pirates of Sartosa. Pretty tough, pretty good melee combatant, and I didn't really have anything to counter that specifically, but it doesn't matter if you wipe everybody out. So with that, after that fight, I left Tyrion in Sartosa a little bit to try and cut the corruption down a little more quickly, keep the public order up. I had Alistar move in along the coast here, but ultimately Alistar wasn't really needed. I had Alariel come from Angerial. I had that second army at the Shrine of Loek. I had them meet up, push Elasili, wipe out the Pirates of Sartosa. Now, on the north, remember we had 3 different Dark Elf armies coming in, one of which was Crone Hellebrand's army. Pretty powerful. However, the other 2 armies, as I discovered, were actually quite weak. One of them was 12 spearmen and then 6 archers. The other one had a couple of better units, but still mostly low-tier armies, right? And so we first clashed. Well, you can see Nagorond has confederated what was once Harganeth. So we just ended up staying at war anyway. They originally took Mistnar and Tor Koruwali, and they've even sacked Elysia. They moved the two armies down south here, and they marched them. So I initially took, like, here's Altharion's army. I filled in with the Lord temporarily after he got wounded in this fight, and then I had him group up with this other army, right? So I kind of wanted to just disband all the weird random stuff that they had and shrink it down. Like, why do you have two armies that have 5 units apiece when you could have one full-size army? So I shrank them down. I recruited a few archers to fill in the balance. I mean, you can see these Silver and Guard. These are DLC units. The Shadow Warriors DLC, Arcane Phoenix, all of those were from Confederation. But so I was able to absorb those into Altharion's army here. And I had him sit at Tor Yuvares, recruited a few archers, and actually sat Elariel on the border here, put her into ambush stance. So those armies marched out, which was, I don't know, that was pretty nuts. I guess they thought they could take Tor Yuvares. I mean, they would have been right. But they really overextended. I was able to have Eltharion move up and move Elariel out of ambush stance and attack them. Again, I had to play the battle out. It was completely one-sided. I took 0 losses. But I had to play it out because when I auto-resolved it, one of Elariel's bolt throwers got nuked, which is so dumb. It's because they had a couple of cavalry, a couple of like ranged cavalry, the one flying ranged cavalry. So I'll review both that fight and the fight with Eltharion. There's not really a lot to learn from them, but just to kind of show like how one-sided it was, and how, again, sometimes playing things out is better. I could have taken the loss on Elariel, moved the bolt thrower up, and then recruited a new one, but instead I took exactly 0 losses, which again just allowed me to move forward. It was a really simple fight, so we'll take a look at that. As you can see, here is Tyrion as well. So of course, after a turn or two in Sartosa, I just started running him right up the coast, intending to send him towards these northern parts, perhaps get a flank on the enemy, while I had Elariel and Alistar, and then eventually Eltharion move up kind of the center of the continent. We were able to bounce those 2 armies at once, so that was great. I've actually sent Alistar back because I want to protect my west coast. I mean, like I said, you can see we got this army here. In fact, I might want to kind of sweep in and fight them if I can. There was also a Black Ark somewhere in this territory. Although, what I want to do first is have Alistar get some new units. As much as I was considering leaving Alistar as kind of this, like, low-tech hero, you know, eventually we're gonna be beset upon by Dark Elf armies that are serious and strong and scary, right? Like, this army's pretty much a joke. Like, Elariel would absolutely... This army will devastate this army. But that's kind of the point, right? Is the reverse is true. I don't know what they're doing over there that they have such crappy units, or maybe this is just like... I'm not going to try to explain how this army got crafted and why, but I think that it's fair to assume that with 36 settlements at strength rank 1, they've got some kind of power, right? Like, I'm just... Do I even have this? Yeah, my dragon building is done. My Phoenix Guards have just been completed. So I really can start pulling tier 5 armies together now. I think that it's reasonable to presume that the Dark Elves have been able to do it for some time. I can't see what's in this army, but anyway, the point is, I'm not going to be able to, like, if they were to come with a comparable strength of an army to fight me, having Alistar over here is not really going to do any good. Like, it'll help because I have the walls in these provinces, so that'll kind of save me a little bit, right? But this army's not going to cut it. As much as this is, like, nice to keep my upkeep a little bit lower, it's still expensive now just because I have so many armies, and it just... This isn't going to cut it. I know that this isn't going to cut it. I know that this army would get just absolutely devastated, and that's not what we want to happen. So we'll have to work on that. The last event, actually, to touch on. So Crone Hellebron sacked Elysia, came and sacked Torachar, moved west to probably fight Shrace, and I don't know what compelled her to do this, but I got a Lariel here, put her into ambush stance, and she decided to come back to, I don't know, attack me some more or something. Ran right into the ambush, got killed off. So, you know, we've shifted the tide. Again, I've talked about this before, right? And I'll pull this up just one more time. The Dark Elves seem pretty scary, right? Despite the fact that I've outgrown everybody, like, I'm strength rank 2. I can't see that many other people, but even Hexawaddle, another primary, like the main faction of the Lizardmen, arguably, or like the Last Defenders or Hexawaddle, whichever one you want to say, they're both quite strong right now. Both have a decent amount of territory. They're the best of the best when it comes to the Lizardmen, except for maybe Eataine, but yeah, Eatain's not even doing that hot. They're in a tough place. I'm more than twice as strong as them. I could fight both of them at the same time and win. Yet the Dark Elves are on par with me. That seems scary, right? But I killed 2 of their armies with 0 losses. I wiped out another one, and here's where Alariel is sitting at, right? I'm going to be able to move her forward and replenish, she's going to be fine. This army's going to be fine. It's going to be in great shape. So it just shows you with a couple of effective armies how quickly you can turn the balance of power, right? The other thing to remember about the Dark Elves is they're definitely going to have several black arcs, those like ship fortress cities. If you're not familiar with those, maybe check out the Dark Elves overview once I'm done with that. You can find out more. But essentially, it's like a roaming sea fortress. It's a city that also is a mobile army. It can only move on the sea. We had one out here. But the thing about them is they greatly reduce upkeep for the units in them. So you can have 2 or 3 Black Arc armies with the same troops that fit in one land army for the same cost, right? So part of their strength rating is kind of artificially inflated, and their Black Arcs will spend a lot of time dodging you too. Like, they'll run away a lot. They won't take fights, but there's no way to really corner one, and you can't ambush stance in the sea. So it can get a little awkward, but just know that they're probably not really this strong in terms of direct military power. But even if they are, point is, it's not that hard to overturn, right? This army is no threat to me no matter where it goes. It's probably going to go and attack Shrace anyway. But we're prepared for that, right? I got armies on all 3 sides. This army's not going to have to stay back and defend anymore. It's going to be able to move out. Though we might want to leave it back for a couple of turns if we try to pop the ritual soon. So let's take a look. I know that's a lot of discussion for what's happened over the past few turns, but it's been pretty busy. A couple of different fights and events. So let's kind of get into it here. So I want to go through. What are we thinking here? We'll grab the Net of Amontok. I don't think I want to move this army yet. Do I think it can beat this army? I do, except for Malice Darkblade. I'm going to leave this here for now. I don't think they have any reason to come for me here anyway. We're going to move Alariel up just a little bit to the point where she can still encamp, although I might not need to. Yeah, I do need to. Okay. I got a bunch of skill points here. And we'll kind of discuss this at a later date. I don't want to spend too much time talking about skill point selections. You can always pause the video and take a glance at what I've been going for. But a lot of these heroes aren't even that strong yet anyhow. I wanted to go for this Skull Reef. I'm not sure how I feel about that in the face of Malice. In fact, I'd really like to just make landfall here immediately in case they decide to go for the Shrine of Cain. It's hard to tell which way they're going to go from here. So we've got that pretty secure. I'm going to go over here and fight this person. And we're actually going to do a little trick here. Well, do I need to do it? Just in case. So this is one of my favorite little tricks. I'm going to declare war on them. Ooh, but if they're a high elf, well, I don't think that a wood elf. I'm not sure if they'll have the underway ability, so I think we'll be okay. If I do this, funnily enough, you can see their movement range is only within my army's area of influence. It's like being trapped in range of a city, so you can walk onto an army and trap them like that. So they're probably not going to be able to move over the next turn, so they're stuck there. Now, we do have Alistar here, and I mean, I want to replace eagles with dragons. I know that. God, I can't justify. I like really can't justify the White Lions of Thrace. Not at this stage of the campaign. I would love to. Maybe if I had Alistar earlier. Maybe if Alistar was higher level and I had dedicated a bunch of points to here. But I don't. I don't think that it's worth it, right? I could just grab him some Swords Master of Hoeth from the White Tower of Hoeth if I really want him to have those kind of units. But quite frankly, like, now's the time to convert, right? What I should do is take these out, and I'll replace the 4 Spearmen with 4 Phoenix Guard. And I wanted to get him a mage as well. And we have a... I looked at this previously, and I'm probably just going to go with this. I have a ton of Celestial Mages, which, for better or worse, that's just how it is. But this, again, research rate bonus, I'm going to want that. So we'll get him a mage here. Actually, what I want is to keep the most experienced archers. Grab 3 of those, 2 of those. Perfect. So yeah, as you can see, I got 1 spot left here for the mage. I still don't really want to... Well, I have to replace the spearmen with the Phoenix Guard. So it'll be a much higher tier army. I mean, these archers, you know, whether I should keep them or replace them with the light armor, I mean, I'll basically just put these ones in back, and that'll be that. I honestly... you know what? I do. I want to replace those with Lothern Sea Guard, quite frankly. I'll keep these 2 light armored archers so I can have those kind of central or in the back, have a little more range. But at this point, like this, well, once I get these replaced with Phoenix Guard, that's kind of what your end game armies are going to look like. You could lean more heavily into dragons. Like, I could go with 4 dragons. I probably will in something like Tyrion's army. Like, we'd even cut down to 1 bolt thrower, right? These are nice, but that's not really what the High Elves, like, style is like, at least in my opinion. A lot of Lothern Sea Guards, because this is essentially the highest level archer I can get, except for the archers with light armor, just a little bit better range. But since these double as spearmen, you know, you can have a pretty tanky, like, I don't even necessarily need the Phoenix Guard, or the Phoenix Guard can, you know, can be more like frontline damage dealers. I honestly don't really... I've struggled to really find a use for Swordsmaster of Hoeth, but I think if you went heavy on, like, Phoenix Guard, Swordsmaster of Hoeth, and some Phoenixes and Dragons, that would be an effective, like, infantry monster combo army if you cut down on the ranged units. But anyway, yeah, what we're going to go for here, replace these with Phoenix Guard, and that's what most of my endgame armies are going to look like. Again, maybe a couple more Dragons, maybe a couple less Archers, but, like, Phoenix Guard, Lothern Sea Guard, Bolt Thrower 2, Dragons. That's what we want these armies to look like. That's what I think will be most effective. It might not be the best auto-resolve army, so you can always try to find your own combination as well. Auto-resolve, you know, calculates a little differently, but I know that those armies will be effective for me in battle, and so we'll get to see some of those played out, I'm sure. Now, I believe I've moved most of my characters here. Andriellen's not going anywhere. Got this noble that I might... Yeah, he just is not going to have a good enough chance for that. I'm going to send him north, try to get some farming, some influence farming here. We have the Handmaiden that's just sitting here to boost the income of Lothern, because they have the entrepreneur trait for income from local buildings boost, which is pretty good. You can see this province is making a lot of money at this point in time, so that helps a lot. In fact, it's going to enable me to make conversions on a lot of my armies, and perhaps I should before I get too invested here, but I don't know. Alariel's army, pretty comfortable. Tyrion, I would not mind upgrading these to some real dragons. I could actually even cut some of these archers, some of the sea guards maybe. Yeah, cut 2 and 2, replace them with Phoenix Guard. That would be pretty nice. And the real question is, do I want to run him into the middle of the map to do it, or just do it by global recruitment? Kind of sucks both ways. We'll get to that later though. That'll be something to discuss later. Most likely, I'm just gonna do it via global recruitment. So we've got everybody moved for the turn. Like I said, right now. So what I want to do, take out Malice Darkblade. I don't want to Confederate Trace yet. Because I just kind of want to see what happens here with Malice. Once we figure out which way he's going, I'm absolutely going to pounce on him. I'm going to Confederate Trace. That will give me this complete province. It won't give me this whole province, but it will give me the Shrine of Cain. And I don't know that I'm really going to pick the Sword of Cain back up. I probably could at this point with the kinds of public order bonuses I have. Yeah, buildings, characters, technologies. Yeah, 7 from characters. If we took 10, I might wait. I'll probably wait. I don't think I'm really going to take it at all. If I do, I'll wait until I've confederated Illyrian as well. They definitely like me enough for a confederation at this point in time. I'll just have to wait it out. The reason I'm going to confederate Schrace first is just for convenience, because they're on this side of the map, and that's where I am currently. If I had to confederate Illyrian, I'd have to defend a large swath of western territory when I've only just taken this eastern territory, and I definitely don't have the forces to defend it yet, right? Like, I'm working on that, but my armies are spread pretty thin right now. I've eliminated all threats on the eastern coast, and that's exactly why you do it. But if there was something over here, if the Pirates of Sartosa or the Norskins still lived, a lot of this territory would be in danger. That's also why I've built walls in many of these areas, is just to make it safer, right? I'll want walls in Elasili and perhaps in Tor Yveres. But so you can see I've built walls on a lot of these coastal cities just so I don't really have to worry about defending this too heavily. The real problem will be when I call in the ritual and an army pops up right here. So if I'm going to do this ritual anytime soon, it's going to be another 5 turns out. It's not going to be until Alistar has a recruited army and I can get him over here. And perhaps we'll pull Eltharian's army back to deal with that as well, assuming that they spawn right around here, which they usually do. Yeah, I'd probably leave Eltharian up here, Alistar down here, and we just kind of deal with it as it comes. We might need another army in the south to deal with naval stuff. In fact, I might not move too far off the island and just do a little bit of like raiding and destruction of these fringe provinces, or these fringe territories for the Dark Elves real quick. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. For the next 10 turns is going to be have Eltharian finish securing this province, have Alariel and Tyrion deal with Malice, confederate Schrace, and secure this territory. And then once these are kind of, like, once Schrace is confederated, I'm not really going to want to stray too far. I don't like that this army is here, and I don't want it to go uncontested, but like, it's going to be a few turns before Alistar can move, so I really hope that Illyrian can deal with this properly. I may even move this army back. I'm not sure where. I know that the point, like, Gaian Vale is going to be one of my targets, so I kind of want to leave something around there to deal with potential threats, but I'm trying to think of where. So when I call in this second ritual, 1 or 2 Chaos armies are going to spawn somewhere on the coast. Potentially, a Norscan army will spawn in the sea. And actually, they usually spawn to the southeast here. So maybe I'm worrying about nothing. In fact, once we deal with Malice, I'll actually send this army over in this direction to try and help Illyrian deal with that threat. I really hope they can put together a proper defense, and I don't have to, but I don't want to leave them hanging out to dry, so to speak. In fact, I'm actually just going to start making that move now because it's so slow to move through Phoenix Gate territory. Or through Gate territory, I should say. So what's the best way? Oh boy. Well, it wants me to run out there, which actually does make sense. Obviously I don't want to just like, oh, here, I'll sprint right in front of Malice and sacrifice my army. Okay, we're leaving this army here for another turn. We've decided. There's nothing. We've already looked at the diplomacy. Like I said, I'll confederate Schrace within a few turns here, not too far out. Yeah, like I said, the next 10 turns are just kind of wrap things up here in the north, start kind of like destroying these provinces, clean them up. I can take this Skull Reef here for another 20k, and just finish building stuff up. So let's talk about buildings here real quick. So obviously I confederated this territory. There's not really anything special to see here. I've had to rebuild Elasili. Cairn Thel, pretty standard. Growth, income, trade resource. Shrine of Loic has locked in with a port, has walls to defend, it's upgrading. Elasili, growth and public order, pretty standard. But Tor Everest, I kind of want to touch on real quick. So we do have 2 ports, so I wanted to put an embassy in here, and if I can fit it, I might put another embassy in Tor Everest. But you can see, well, actually I can't fit it, because I know that Tor Everest has this building, which, ooh, they've actually changed this. This is different now with the DLC. Invocation of Ending provides garrison. You know, I'm probably not going to build that. There used to be a building here that gave you a bunch of money, but why do I need the public order or the defense if I can build a defensive structure and I can build a public order structure? Yeah, so it looks like I can fit another embassy in here. I can fit another archive. That's, you know, it's not a ton of money, but it'll be a boost to these harbors. And then the big one is Sardenath has this gold mine. I mentioned it earlier with how I don't understand how they're struggling and they haven't built this stuff properly. Yeah, I built the gold mine. You can see once this is completed in 4 turns, it's going to give me a decent chunk of income. So we're going to be in great shape here. But essentially, this is another economic bastion. I've got defenses here, so there's really nothing crazy to talk about there. Tor Corrali, obviously we're going to have to revisit this one once it's a little more built up. Here in Avalorn's province, I'm building dragons because I have this apple here, and in fact that means that I will probably end up bringing Tyrion and potentially, I don't know, I like Alariel's army. This is solid. The fact that it has the Sisters of Avalorn, like, and the Frostheart Phoenix, like, this is going to be a defensive playstyle no matter what. I don't really need the dragons in this army. It would be kind of nice, and maybe the heroes is a bit too much here, but so far I find this to work. I'm probably not going to change this army going forward. I know that I want dragons in Phoenix Guard and Tyrion's army though, so I might try to sneak in through the Phoenix Gate and use this to recruit dragons. Plus, it's just kind of nice to have this as a potential recruitment province on the northern side, right? If I had started as Avalorn, I'd have to do it this way anyway. But so you can see, we can get a lot of your basics here. We can get the Lothern Sea Guard, and we can get dragons. The only thing we're missing is the Phoenix Guard and the Bolt Throwers, but Bolt Throwers recruit in 1 turn from Global, so it's simple enough to get it. But so that's kind of what this province looks like. Otherwise, again, pretty standard. Income, wherever I can fit it. Rare resources, wherever they are, like trade resources. Embassy, again, wherever I can fit it. And then your standard, like, hero capacity buildings, income, public order, defenses. Nothing really too special there. Straits of Lothern, we've completed the dragon building. I did mention that, but just to show, like, this is what my Lothern province looks like. Angerial, I do have the Sanctuary of Asuryan built. However, I do want to mention that later on, this probably won't be for another 20 turns yet, but I actually am going to want to convert things. Because what I'd like to do is put Phoenix Guards in Lothern. I'd like to get the Shrine of Asuryan in Lothern and remove the Sanctuary of Asuryan from Eataine, because right now this is kind of an awkward, well, it's not awkward, but it's like income based. This is like an economic bastion. I would not at all mind, frankly, I could even remove the public order building, and perhaps I'm not even sure why I'm building it in the first place. I'd like to remove the Sanctuary of Asuryan, and then I'd probably remove this public order building because we get public order from the wine, and build the Mage's Building and the Elven Gardens. But for now, since I didn't want to build both, because then I'd sacrifice the income, the industry building, we're just kind of leaving it as an economic province at this time. Calidor's Repose, obviously nothing fancy to see here. I do know that the next thing I'm going to want to build in Val's Anvil, absolutely without a doubt, is the Ritual Resource, though, because this 25 a turn, that sucks. Like, I could have built that a long time ago, and Confederating Shrace will get it for me in the Shrine of Cain as well, which, boy, do I need it. if I want to ever finish this campaign. We're 80 turns in. This is not uncommon progress on the ritual, but I really am going to need a lot more of these. It doesn't matter that they're far ahead, and in fact, big picture plan, eventually I'm going to start attacking the Dark Elves, and I'll be able to take a couple of sites from them. And just in general, having territory, like once I confederate this, that'll be another 10 per turn or so, it looks like. So we'll get there. It's still going to scale up, especially with having confederated the East and having cleaned this up so quickly. My power is going to continue to scale enormously, and we're just going to snowball really rapidly into the late game. But so that's, I think that covers everything. We should have everything covered here. Yeah, like I said, I know perhaps I've said it enough times already, but the next 10 turns, we're going to finish up things here in the north, right? Confederate Trace, figure out where this army's going and delete it. Figure out where this army's going and try to stop it with some of mine if I can. A few turns from now, I'd like to get this ritual going. It'll reduce my income. It'll give me bonuses. It's not going to be the most perfect dreamy scenario, but if I can get this out of the way, that'll give me the time I need to kind of divert my forces and focus on like making a move on the Dark Elves. Once I've successfully secured a platform over here and I can start, not only gaining income from owning settlements, but also from regularly, sacking and attacking them, I'll be able to build reinforcement troops back on my home continent so that I don't have to pull my main armies back to defend against the ritual invasions, right? We do still, I need to make sure that somebody gets back here. It'll have to be Eltharion. Eltharion and Alistar are going to have to come over here. We'll pull this army back through to potentially deal with this. Hopefully they deal with it in time, though. And then this army will actually probably pull down. We'll kind of rotate everything counterclockwise. I'll pull this army down into here to cover Eataine if necessary. And I can keep either Alariel or Tyrion. I can pull them into the Gaian Vale if necessary. Well, I'm going to pull Tyrion in anyway to switch over his troops, so maybe that means Alariel will be moving north and doing the raiding. So that should cover everything. We're going to go, we have one more thing I want to do, because I don't need to, yeah, you know what, we're just going to do it. Just use it to put it on cooldown. I know I'm going to use the Phoenix Guard one when I get Tyrion into range for recruiting. Will that happen in 5 turns? Not 100% sure. We'll find out. But that should be it. So I want to jump in on the technology aspect just real quick here as well. I finished my research this turn. We finally got the upkeep reduction for Lothern Sea Guards. So all of these things are really just going to help my income be much more manageable. So it's tough, right? This is a tough point because there's so many things that I want. All of these would be sick, right? Construction cost and construction time reduction. Like, I want this whole tree. I want this as well. Diplomatic relations with all factions. Lord recruit rank and recruit rank for handmaidens and nobles. I want that. I want these two because I'm using some phoenixes right now. And because this would be hero recruit rank increase. That's great. There's nothing else really in here. Oh, actually, that's right. The ammunition and range for bolt claw throwers. Eagle claw bolt throwers. That would be really nice. And so maybe we'll just grab that right away just to get the range increase. That will force people to engage me from a different range. But then we kind of have the military advancements here. I do actually think I'll leave this for a little later. And I'd really like to see my research rate. 133% is not enough. That's not what I want it to be. I need to get a mage hero out there and start stealing technology. But I barely have the supply capacity to fill my armies at this time. But we'll get to that. There's a lot of good research in here, though. So, like, this would be nice. Melee attack and defense for lords and heroes. This is really nice if you have the DLC for the Sisters of Avalorn and Handmaidens. So we won't worry about that. But this obviously is another one I really want. If I'm going to start building these armies, I want recruit rank for Phoenix Guard, right? Swordsmaster of Hoeth. I want recruit rank for Phoenixes and Dragon units. So both of these would be great. We also have upkeep reduction for Swordsmaster of Hoeth, Phoenix Guard, and Dragon Princes. Though to be frank, this is more on like the 30 turn plan. I really want these, but that's further out. I think the first thing I'm going to do is get the Broadhead arrows. Ooh, but that's going to take a long time. I do still think this is the first thing I'm going to get. I want to make sure that my artillery has as much range as I can get for it, right? The range and the ammunition, they really are not even that great for tearing down towers. Ooh, we actually have a siege battle. I forgot about that. We have a siege battle against who? We actually have a siege battle against the Vampire Coast, the Pirates of Sartosa, to review as well. I almost forgot about that one. It's because, of course, it was pretty negligible when you have, 1,000 archers shooting at everything. So we can review that one as well. But yeah, I want the range increase for the bolt throwers because then it'll allow me to engage people from better ranges, counter enemy artillery a little better, just draw them in from like better positions for myself without having to move forward as much. So yeah, I do want to commit to this. Oh, this would be really nice, but right now my income is just fine. Like, yeah, 14,000 a turn. My income is splendid, so I'm not as concerned about that being a requirement in order to succeed here. So we'll get to that. Like we'll get to these. Man, I want all of this. I want all of this, and this is probably the next thing I'm going to focus on. I could, well, we could get these as well. Maybe grab like just one or two of these port, industry, and resource buildings, right? So these are my money makers, and they're gonna become even cheaper and build faster. That'd be great. So that's going to be the next set, but we'll get to review that again. With that being said, we're going to review those couple of battles, and it'll just be real quick. I don't think that those are going to be particularly spectacular battles or difficult to understand. They look weird at first, but they turn out very much simpler than you'd expect. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to jump in and come back on turn 90. So we'll see where we're at there. All right, so you can see this is the small battle I was talking about. I've got kind of a battered army from Eltharion. Aranessa has just a handful of kind of weird units. The game does think that I'm supposed to lose this, and they did catch me out in March stance. But you can see from the map I have a very advantageous deployment zone. They can only enter in through a certain way. We're just kind of speed through this real quick. There's really not too much to see here. We cast a couple of spells, right? I've got the Shem's Burning Gaze here. And then the Cavill has some kind of item on them that gives them another special spell cast. So you can see we do some damage to these animated hulks. I want to take them out if I can. They start getting in range of some of my archer units. Yeah, you can see I realize they're not quite facing the right way, so we get an adjustment. Start shooting at them. Perhaps I should have targeted fire a little bit better there. But yeah, you could see, like, again, Eltharion, I'm just hitting them with missiles and spells. Eltharion has this nice Vortex spell. Yeah, that's pretty nice, huh? These things are almost completely critical by the time they can even start fighting. I send the Phoenix out really to just try and finish them off. Phoenix does its little dive bomb, creates another Vortex. I didn't even realize that this got netted, but it doesn't matter, right? Like, so here's what I was talking about, right? This is a very simple battle, but just showing how, like, effective usage of abilities and effective counters can turn the tide in your favor. The game thinks that I should have lost this one, right? But now we've got a huge pack of good spearmen fighting these animated hulks, large units. Perfect counter, right? The problem is I don't really have anything to super counter the Depth Guard or Aranessa, but I do have the Phoenix go in the back line, right? And we've got the archers as well. I can't see what they're targeting at this time, but they should be targeting the hulks, right? These can also target down these large units, and then afterwards they can try to target down the Depth Guard. I've got those, AoE spells to take on these masses of infantry. I'll just kind of have the Phoenix. Yeah, see, so the bombers get off like one volley, and that's pretty devastating, but there's so few of them left now, and once we get the Phoenix on them, they can't really do anything. Yeah, I wish I would have been more careful with Eltharion. I mean, I use Apotheosis to heal him up, and I presumed that would be enough. We wipe out those guys, get the Phoenix back up, and we'll bring it back into the fight. We're still trying to take out the hulks. And there's really honestly not that much more to see, right? We just they use some kind of ability on me here. Altharian actually gets capped, but at this point the Hulks are dying off. My Spearmen are doing good enough. Cavill is insanely strong as the Lore Master of Hoeth and is winning the fight. We've got the Phoenix in the back line fairly wounded, but the animated Hulks are fully gone now. So we've got nothing to do but have and then it's just over, right? Like at that point it just ends. So pretty simple fight. Still thought I'd showcase it, right? Like I said, a couple of abilities and one or two good counters, like unit counters, can help turn the tides. It's true in large fights. It's even more true in small fights. So let's jump into the next fight here. We'll take a look at that other fight on the field where we battled the two Dark Elf armies, kind of unnecessarily, but just so you can see what happened. Yeah, so you can see, I mean, I talked about it before, but it's a basic army. Like, this one's got some fancy stuff in it, like a couple special units, but really it's spearmen, archers, handful of cavalry, like cavalry archers. Now, yeah, real quick, just so you can see, I don't know how this happened, but this is what the reinforcement sites looked like. So it was a little weird. I initially regretted not doing, like, unchecking control large army. So I've got some of my units facing to the right to try and catch this army if they come in. Some of them facing forward. But instead, they're like, no, we're just going to hang out for a bit. So we're gonna try to speed through this one. It gives my second army plenty of time to get in position, and this army's so afraid of like getting hit or hitting, they like don't want to hit me in the flank, so they move to regroup with the main army. But obviously this is foolish. They're slowed, they're already caught out in march stance. They're slowed down by traveling through the trees. I retarget my bolt throwers onto these Black Ark Corsairs. I kind of move some of my units out a little bit to get more vision. In fact, I realized that this Handmaiden can probably get some good snipes on these flying missile cavalry. But yeah, you can see, like, this is what happens when you shoot stuff with Sisters of Avalorn. And I didn't even target this. I did reposition these once I realized these units were moving into the center of the map. But yeah, right, like, at this point I'm not really, you know, I'm basically just trying to watch and make sure my formations are stable. So you can see I just adjusted my archer formations here. But now they're going to counterfire heavily on these. And, like, man, cavalry. These are unshielded cavalry. Pretty low armor. One volley from theirs versus how many of mine? I have Altharian in this fight. So, of course, he can also summon this fire vortex on them. We've still got that Arcane Phoenix in this fight. We've got all of these archers with all kinds of power. And so, yeah, like I said, they basically sent in the one army before the second army could arrive, and I don't really know why, because they initially started out of range of my artillery. I guess it's just the threat of the artillery was enough, but yeah, you see, like, I don't even really micro anything. Like, I send a couple of my units out to try to, like, push some of these, like, melee fights back once they start, but you can even see, like, it just becomes unnecessary so fast, and that's pretty much the battle, right? We've almost routed the entire first army. They suffer enough losses to trigger the Dark Elf ability, giving them a variety of bonuses, you know, leadership, charge damage, melee attack, or charge bonus melee attack. And it basically doesn't matter because this army's so tired that it's not going to get in range. I micro my heroes so I can heal them up a little bit. Yeah, and it doesn't really matter. In fact, I'm so unconcerned about this lord that I just move my whole army into position. Yeah, we kill it right away, pull everybody back, and now my second army is completely in range. I do notice this cavalry trying to flank. I just target it with 2 Lothern Sea Guards, and the battle's over. Simple. Very simple. Very straightforward. Again, just in a fight like this, in a situation like this, just kind of making sure you have your wall of spearmen and your wall of archers. And I was concerned about the artillery getting hit, because we lost them in the auto-resolve. And you could see their cavalry were trying to sneak around the side, but just, like, in a fight like this, that's where you want to pay attention to those small details, right? You don't want to let one cavalry unit miss your gaze because you're too focused on the main fight. You just want to trust that, you know, having 9 to 15 archer units and a handful of spearmen sitting at the front lines is just going to do the things that they need to do. So yeah, again, pretty straightforward fight. Covered it quick. I did almost forget to mention this, but we also have a siege to look at, from sieging the the Vampire Coast City, the Pirates of Sartosa's last little bastion. We'll take a look at that real quick. Again, it was one I decided to play out. I didn't want to auto-resolve. I didn't really expect it to be too bad, but again, they kind of underestimate the ability of archers. So anyway, let's get into that and take a look. Yeah, so this is with Alario's army, right? Same one we just saw in that last fight. We have kind of a smaller supporting army that has come in from, like, this. There was that army, one of the Confederated armies. But again, so you can see they've got this box layout, and this layout's super easy to besiege. We get the reinforcements coming in here. Again, Alario's set up in a pretty basic formation. And initially, so normally when you get this layout, you want to attack from the corner. You can see these corner towers have a really wide range, right? Even this one that's facing off to the side can still clip my units. And at some point, I'll realize that and shift them over. Whereas a tower like this does not have anywhere near that range. If you can take out the two corner towers on the corner, you can do whatever you want in this whole, like, space over here. You can actually see, okay, so I didn't realize this during the fight, but this is why we were getting sniped. It's actually this gunnery white. Okay. Alright, yeah. Sniper heroes are no joke. I normally would put lords out in front to take, like, the tower fire, because you can see this is doing nothing. But yeah, it's that sniper fire. So I shift my army over here. I've decided I want to destroy this tower, which honestly, I like just seeing the lack of damage it was doing. I should have realized how irrelevant that was, and could have moved up a lot sooner. We got this weird, like, mismatched army here. Yeah, and that's why I'm, like, wondering why this half this fight I'm wondering why my heroes are taking so much damage, not even thinking about this gunnery white. Yeah, and like I said, so you can see I mean, this tower is not even dead, and I'm kind of realizing, yeah, the tower is definitely not doing the damage to me. I don't need to be concerned. Most of these heroes are kind of sadly pretty squishy, but it really is this gunnery white. 433 damage with armor piercing. But so we move up into range. Tower's almost dead. Takes them a minute to get in there. Yeah, and I'm like, okay, now's the time to pull the heroes back. And then the barrage begins, right? Like, yeah, you might have a gunnery hero, but also dead. And then this one's, like, pretty straightforward, I feel. Like, we finally just destroyed the tower. I'm not sure where the heck these are moving to. I do have them target, I've talked about this before, firing along this alley is going to give your bolt throwers a better chance for those shots to land. When they did have a second gunnery white here. Yeah, so these shots are kind of missing this group that they're targeted on, right? But they're still hitting stuff here. So it's not so bad. But really, it's these, like, my archers, like, especially Sisters of Avalorn, super accurate with their shots. They do magical damage and fire damage with these arrows. Like, they're crazy. And so I kind of have this second army with a couple of melee troops. I figure, well, probably time to move in. And that's all this fight is. Like, this siege looks like it could be more complicated, but it's just about how complicated you make it. Like, I actually end up taking the bolt throwers at a certain point and just targeting them on these flying creatures in the back. Yeah, but yeah, victory's in our grasp already here. Like, you can see maybe I'm putting my melee units a little bit at threat here, but I like move my archers up again so that they can fire on stuff behind the walls, and this is pretty much it. Like, this, I'm doing a little bit of micromanagement of my units on the walls. I sent some of my heroes in. Now you can see I sent some of my flying units in, but honestly, they're just going to get pelted by my own arrows anyway, right? Like, here at this point, we've taken the walls quite successfully. They got a handful of units that they're going to throw away, and then, as per usual, they cling to this battle when there's no chance left. Yeah, see, here we get the artillery firing on the back line here. Yeah, I don't even have to do that much, right? Like, I pull my Sisters of Avalorn up onto the walls at this point so that they can just kind of get on the walls, fire down into the city, right? We kill these Morn ghouls here pretty easily. Move my flying units out of the way now. Is that eagle still in there? Yeah, weird. I mean, there's their lord dead. At this point, right? At this point, why don't they rout? Who knows why they don't rout? So we kill a bloated corpse here. We should be able to kill the bloated corpse there. Oh, that's my handmaiden sniping it out. Beautiful. Bam. And then finally they cave. So hopefully that one wasn't didn't speed through that too fast. I feel like I've shown enough sieges this campaign, and this one was pretty straightforward, right? Like, really all it was is move the archers into range. I really didn't even need to wait for my bolt throwers to take out that siege tower. The real benefit to that was clearing line of sight for my archers. But you could see I probably would have been better off moving the archers up sooner, because that would have just killed their 2 sniper heroes, and even moving my melee units onto the wall probably wasn't necessary. In fact, I think I did it too early there, and I could have sat and let the archers do a lot more firing. But again, just a lot of these felt pretty one-sided to me playing them out versus what the map showed for, the results for auto-resolve. So I just kind of wanted to cover these briefly. If you've already seen enough of the battles, I don't think, that's why I'm not sure. That's why I wasn't sure about including these and wanted to speed through them, because I want to focus on some of the more significant and more key battles, some of the more challenging ones as we get in here. I don't want to skip examples that can highlight some good little individual aspects of a battle that can be useful to improve upon. But from here on out, I think I'm going to kind of dodge stuff like this, because these are the last few examples of like basic, simple techniques. At this point in the game, if I can besiege a city with, a full set of an army with a full set of archers, this is what the fight looks like pretty much every time. So yeah, with that being said, we've covered the battles. Now it's time to move forward, and we're going to check out where we're at in the next 10 turns. Alright, back again, and here we are at turn 90. Zoomed out a little bit quickly, so killed the suspense, but as you can see, things are a little bit different. Yeah. So, where do we begin? I mean, obviously, this means that we confederated Illyrian, right? I pretty much went one after another here. Schrace, I was able to confederate. I mean, Malice didn't really have anywhere to move that army. I was able to pincer in. Well, he tried to go into ambush. His ambush was detected, and so I was able to pincer with Tyrion and Ilariel, take him out pretty quickly. And then we saw during the ritual, I had moved that army down the west, and I was able to, I don't know, like I still am not sure if I took out that army or not. I think that I was able to wipe it out the following turn, but regardless, I attacked one of those armies, like the first one that took Tor Anrock. Malekith had sent a second army down here, which I intercepted with Alistar. Unfortunately, he came back real fast and has already landed another army here at Calidor. Fortunately, this place has some walls on it, so we're going to be able to at least hold out a turn or two. But you can see, like, this is exactly what I was talking about, okay? And we'll review the battle with Malekith and take a look just kind of at what happened. I mean, it was a pretty crappy army, but Malekith is strong, right? Now he's back with a strong, like a fierce army, and again, that's why I was saying that, I can't just have like spearmen, archers, and some phoenixes and expect to deal with hydras and Harganeth executioners, right? It's just not realistic. I don't know why I can't see more of this army, but so we're going to have to try to defend that. And that's, again, why I've been focusing on the defenses on the west coast. We also cleaned up that chaos invasion. Again, making sure that you have some armies in place preemptively is a pretty big part of the ritual. If it's your first time playing and it's your first time activating the ritual, you obviously have no idea where things are going to come from. But with a little experience, you can kind of get the hang of it. But even after that first one, right, the second ritual, they still spawned armies in the exact same place, and those armies ended up being so weak that I was able to just auto-resolve the fights. I didn't have to play any of them out. It was ridiculously one-sided. And same thing down here. That one army did sail up to Ilasilai. It doesn't have walls, but it didn't matter, right? The army just didn't have enough time to make it there before I could put Eltharion on land. So we took care of those things. I was able to confederate the Illyrian with a little bit of a gift. And I actually finally realized, so I've had a decent amount of influence. 400 isn't quite an insane amount, but it's a lot, right? I don't have, if we look here, I don't have room for much hero recruitment, and I might start building another army here because I have the money to, but in general, I don't have a lot to spend the influence on. I haven't talked about this, and I haven't made use of the intrigue at the court very much this playthrough. However, a few turns ago I did so that I could, well, I don't need to scroll over here. We'll just pull up the diplomacy menu and take a look. Okay? Because I used that influence boost on Hexawaddle and the Last Defenders to get them to like me. I mean, you can see the recent events involving Hexawaddle, recent events involving Last Defenders, is where I've gotten them up to. I mean, it put me very positive. Now, of course, they're very happy that I'm fighting Nagarond because they're also at war with the Dark Elves, right? And Cult of Sotek, they're kind of in a weird place. I'm not sure what I want to do with them because now they're, well, who else is fighting? Well, anyways, I'll look at that in a second. But so I have a trade deal with these two civilizations now, which is making me quite a bit of money, as you can see. Trade for the High Elves is insane. I also have just a ton of trade resources on this island, and they continue to grow. You know, we don't necessarily need to look at the breakdown too heavily, but that's just the way it is. I do want to check real quick, because Cult of Sotek is at war with the Court of Libaris. Yeah, and they went to war with some of the lizard folk. I mean, they like me. Yeah, they condemn war with Nagaron. So weird. But I can't make a trade agreement with them anyway, so I suppose it doesn't matter. I wouldn't mind making a trade agreement with the Cult of Sotek just because I can, right? Because they exist and they have money that they can give me. And they are pretty strong. Otherwise, I would expect them to get confederated pretty soon. The fact of the matter is I kind of expect them to wipe out the Tomb Kings instead. So I think we are just going to real quick... I mean, 36. Spend a little bit. Yeah, I don't need to go too much further than that. Hopefully that'll be enough. I'm surprised that my relations with the other lizard folk aren't enough, but that's okay. So yeah. So I took care of the quest battle for Tyrion. I actually did that before recruiting the new troops for him here in the Evershale region. Just because and it was a little close. But of course that mission is supposed to have reinforcements from allies, and the reinforcements didn't even show up. I ended the battle before that happened. So I'd say that means it went pretty good. And that was before I made the upgrades to Tyrion's army, right? We also had that battle with Malekith over here on the west coast that I mentioned. And then we did have that battle with, not with Gilgallion, but with Driellen fighting what I think was Marathi. I didn't even notice. I went to Spellcaster. So that army that attacked Tor Anrock, I ended up fighting them and annihilating them. Again, boosting my relations with Illyrian. Illyrian then using some of their forces to take Tor Anrock just kind of hurts them a little bit. It put me in a good enough position to ally with them. Now, I'm also kind of scouting out this region here with this noble. I really need to get a mage over there and start boosting my research, though at turn 90 it's already unfortunately late for that. I wish I was working on that sooner, but I have not been. But such is life. So yeah, so let's look at my armies. Right now, I've got Tyrion ready to move out. I've got Ilario ready to move out, although I'd like to sit her in Tor Anlek for just a turn to make sure that this army is full strength before I go anywhere with it. I've got this army Valen, one of the ones I confederated from Shrace. It's not that great, and so this is kind of a circumstance where I'm probably going to leave them with a bit of a weaker army because of this trait, right? Reduced upkeep for archers, spearmen, Lothern sea guards, bolt throwers. Okay, well, that's what we have here, so, if I'm not putting Phoenix Guard in there, I mean, maybe that, I could still put dragons in there, but I just don't see myself really using that to a significant extent here. And quite frankly, what I plan to do with this army is just to kind of leave them behind, right? This army is going to become a replacement, probably put it over here in the northwest or the northeast, and then I'm going to want Eltharion to stay here in like this, probably central east, maybe southeast. I'm also probably, this is where I need to build another army, right? I need to, because Alistar is going to have to go over here to the west and deal with that. And in general, I'm probably going to want Alistar to kind of cover the south central and southwest areas and kind of rotate as necessary. I'd like another army to cover the southeast to see kind of what happens with the ritual, right? And then that way Eltharion can help protect Tor Yvresse, and I can have this army of Valen also protect like the ritual spawns, right? So essentially I'm going to have 2 or 3 armies here on the east, like the whole eastern flank for protecting, and then I'm going to have Alistar kind of floating around this area. Yeah, this is super annoying that he came back almost immediately. For right now, I'm just trying to get this army a couple more heroes. I'm going to have room for 1 more unit here, and I truly don't know what I actually want to recruit in it. Perhaps I'll just end up putting 1 more bolt thrower in it. Yeah, I'm not really sure. And I don't think it matters too much. You know, this isn't going to be my all-star army anyway. Eltharion, well, he's got room for a couple more heroes, and I need to get some more noble buildings built, because that's just the one piece that this army's missing. So Alistar has his troops. Fastest way of all is anvils kind of sneak through there. I can't see if Malekith has siege equipment, so this could be kind of a bloody battle, which would be pretty unfortunate. As far as rights go, I want to save the invocation of Isha. I was looking at that in case, you know, maybe there's something I could trigger to help defend myself here a little bit, but there's not. Let's see, who else needs to move yet? Yeah, Tyrion's not really going anywhere. Alariel needs to heal up. Driellen is just out here grabbing some sea ruins, but I think I'm going to leave Driellen behind to protect this, like, west. Like, probably sit right around Tor Anrock, maybe right here. Run her north to protect this northern/northwestern flank. But obviously this isn't very good territory, and eventually I'll get walls built here. And I also plan on sending out my expedition from here, right? So if I have Tyrion and Alariel fighting in this territory, I would think that the last place they're going to come is directly across. They're going to be dealing with the problems here. So we'll kind of see with that. I actually would really like to send a 3rd army across. Well, oh yeah, and so that's Gilgallion. A slightly higher level lord I got from confederating Illyrian. Has kind of an insane amount of shadow warriors. Maybe not the best army composition here. But we're gonna... I mean, I can't get these units any other way, so we're just gonna try it out. He actually already came with a whole host of units. You see, in the skill points that end up on these heroes are so weird. Like, white lines of Strace and war lines... upkeep, like, hasn't recruited any. Spearmen, yeah, like, that's also kind of terrible, but at least we have the Lothern Sea Guards. So, not the greatest traits. I could potentially replace them, but I'd replace them with somebody I'd have to level up. They also have, like, an okay trait, and they have a lot of bonus traits here, right? So I think that this will be an effective person to kind of take across the sea with me and deal some damage. This army, like I said, I've just kind of got scouting for sea ruins at this time. Not that I need them. You can see my finances are just off the charts at this point in time. It's great. Again, that's why I'd like to start a new army, which, quite frankly, well, I'll set that up at the end of this turn. So real quick, I mean, I've talked about army compositions here, and I kind of want to show that off, right? Like, Alistar's army here, while it's a little bit, like again, I could cut maybe 2 of these bolt throwers, or at least maybe 1 of them, and, you know, who knows what I'd put in. Maybe another Phoenix Guard, maybe another Archer, maybe another Dragon, right? Maybe even just keep, like, one of the Frost Phoenixes for more, like, have Dragons for offense, and then the Phoenix for defense, right? But so this is kind of what I'd say a high-tier army looks like. I had a couple of archers with light armor, because these are just going to be a little bit better archers than the Lothern Sea Guard. You know, they've got better range. They somehow have worse damage, but it's the range that I think is going to be nice. I have a bunch of Lothern Sea Guard, so I can have some back to protect the Bolt Claw throwers, and some to protect these archers, and essentially the Phoenix Guard will be my front line. If I go to Tyrion's army... Tyrion is also, like, this army is done. Again, it's almost the same composition, except we have 1 extra hero, and then we have Star Dragons, which are the best ones that you can get. They're also quite expensive, but they're worth it. This is a really powerful unit. In fact, we can get to see the effects of the dragon unit in the fight with Alistar versus Malekith, where I have the Sun Dragons dump some dragon breath. Like they've got this flame attack, right? This is beautiful. It's you could consider it similar to like a wind spell or a breath spell. Where well, obviously it is a breath. It says magic missiles, but like in terms of like a magic spell, right? It would be comparable to something like Wind's Blast, a breath type spell. We don't have like Penumbral Pendulum in here, but something like that. And it does a ton of damage. In fact, when the second one hits on another big pile of infantry, you'll see that that's the point where it says, you're about to win the fight. So, that's where we're at there. Yeah, Altharion is just waiting for more heroes to get into his army. We're going to have him defend on the east, like we said. I don't think that there's any other movements to be made this turn. I do have this noble scouting. Yeah, okay, and he has some movement. So I kind of want to get down here and take a look at this. Wow, and I'm actually not at war with the Cult of Pleasure. Interesting. So yeah, that couldn't have even been Morathi that I saw. We got Hexawatl pushing up to the north here. That's always nice. But yeah, I've had this unit. I mean, you can see it's got 6 turns remaining on its gain influence, so I don't really need to constantly be hitting targets. But what I'd like to do is just kind of have eyes in this area. I'd really like to get a mage up here, and I'll have to review that. I don't necessarily want to spend time on that during the video. I'd like to find, if I don't need a mage for any of my armies, I need a mage up here to kind of have eyes on army movements, and then I can send my 2 armies across the sea and start attacking them. There's actually a Beastman force up here in the north, and they asked me to pay them a measly 500 gold to go to war with the Dark Elves, and so I don't know if they're still, they're still alive someplace, causing trouble for the Dark Elves, so that's what we like to see, right? They wiped this settlement out, so if they can take care of these for me, I mean, this would be worth money to sack, but again, I don't need money at this point in time. So, the last thing I want to review here are some of the builds. Province of Kotik, not really doing anything special. I'm gonna grab all my upgrades. Actually, let's save the upgrades for after the fact. So, Tor Yvres, we got walls, we got defenses, we got money. Nothing's really changed here. Southern Yvres still leveling up. I need the walls on Elasilai. Now, with some of the Confederated territory, well, I fixed a couple of things, but basically you can see this is in like growth and public order mode. I don't know that I need this building here, but I don't know. I don't know what to replace it with yet, so, and I don't need to focus on something like that, right? Here in Nagareth, again, this place is just starting out. Now here in Tiranoc, I kind of want to see if I can make this into a bit of a, like, I want to be able to possibly recruit some armies here. Perhaps not entire armies, but at least get something from here. And because it has this, right? It has the cattle ranch, recruit rank for Illyrian Reavers and Silverhelms. Of course, I'm never going to recruit those here, but because I'm obsessed with creating thematic cities, that's just or provinces, that's what we're going to do, right? But so you see we've got, our citizens militia here. We're still focusing on growth. We do have a marble quarry here, and once Tor Anrock, I'm going to want to make sure this place can defend itself first. But once it's properly defended, we have a gold mine here. And we already have the docks here, plus it has the Palace of Tiranoc, which is terrible except for the income from all buildings increase. So I think I've said this before, but this is probably the most valuable province in the entire High Elf roster. So actually saying that, perhaps I will pull back on the military production buildings. Obviously that's what I should do. So yeah, this is going to be an economic bastion, as it should be, because then I can move heroes like this with the entrepreneur trait into there and make even more money off of it. So that's kind of what we're looking at here. So then one last, I'm building walls in Tor Sathai because it's really common for Dark Elves to come straight across from the west and land anywhere on this patch of land. I want to have walls almost everywhere. Places like White Peak and the High Vale, if I'm leaving an army here to deal with that, I don't really expect them to be able to jump through to here and hit them successfully. But anywhere else, I want to have walls. Like I'm going to leave an army here and be able to move out to wherever. The last province we got to look at here is Illyrian. This one's fairly straightforward. Again, I'm kind of setting it up for like some mild recruitment capacity. This also has the cattle ranch, so we're putting in the cavalry. I'm actually building this elven forge here because at the lowest level it can recruit bolt throwers. And well, see, and this is why I'm so uncertain on this. Okay, we don't need this here. I'm keeping this for the growth, but I don't think that I'll actually keep it in the late run. But so you can see here, right, this would allow me to recruit, like, I'm just never going to build those. This is pointless. Don't do this in your campaigns. I'm just doing it because that's how my brain works. But yeah, I can still kind of start an army here, right? I can recruit mages from here, although I'll probably recruit them from the White Tower of Hoeth for the increased recruit rank. But I can build eagle claw bolt throwers locally here. I can build cavalry locally here. And then the idea is I would have the rally field on the other side so that I could build like infantry here. Like I can recruit the Lothern Sea Guards and then probably make the dragons building so I can recruit dragons here and then perhaps just global recruit the Phoenix Guard from like just global recruit while I'm also recruiting dragons in this province. So that would kind of allow me to just build stuff on the west coast instead of starting armies down here. So that's what my buildings look like. There's still not a whole lot to see, but just to kind of give you an idea of what some of the stuff is converted over to. But at this point in the game, most of these places, I just build everything economic, right? Even this, like the Illyrian Stables, gives me 500 income, and that's the real reason we have this. I'm keeping this public order building to get boosted from the nobles building, and then instead of the income building, I just have wine production because I already have this building for income instead. So that's the idea there. So yeah, I could talk about the next 10 turns, but quite frankly, this is going to be the end of part 3. In fact, the last couple turns have already been so long, I was hoping to keep this one pretty short. We do have a couple of battles to briefly review. The one against Malekith is nothing too special, but it does showcase the power of dragons, so I'd like to get a look at that. And then there was just kind of that field battle against the Dark Elves, which maybe just, we can get one more good example of just kind of getting caught a little bit by surprise by them, or having another evenly contested battle and just seeing how that plays out, even without like legendary lords and heroes in the army, right? Just showcasing target selection and priority, as well as like army composition and location on the map, like deployment location. So we'll take a look at those after a little bit here, and so actually let's jump into those and just review those, and then we'll kind of come back to this segment. So we'll kind of review those battles real quick, and then I want to do the wrap up and review not just what we're doing for the next 10 turns, but what the big picture looks like and what part 4 is going to look like at the start and at the finish. So let's jump into that. Alright, so I want to review these battles here, but just a quick note I wanted to make. Since I did not get to these battles, I should have reviewed these a long time ago. But anyway, since the update came out, they're a little broken now. They don't play out quite right, so we're going to have to fight them out again because the things that happen in these fights from watching the replay does not quite match up with what actually happened. So with that being said, I'm just going to jump into it and review these, and we'll go through them as they come up. So the first one we're doing is that quest battle with Tyrion for his armor set. Again, like I said, there's supposed to be allied reinforcements on this battle, but they don't end up actually showing up for me here. And so you can also see my units start in not the most favorable formation, or just not in the formation I'd like to have them in. So we kind of got to shuffle everything around. Of course, this means this replay isn't going to go quite as quickly as I would have wanted it to. We'll get through it. So shuffling our stuff around here does buy them a little bit of time, actually. We're not necessarily getting our shots off all at quite the right time here. But you can see they're going to start moving into range of a lot of my units, like my missile units here. And it's pretty much the same story as the usual, right? We're going to cast the little debuff on their armor. They're going to start taking some pretty serious damage. They're not even really flanking with their cavalry at this time, which that's really nice. It looks like, and you can see this. I mean, we're not really going to have to adjust anything here. I actually want to send my Phoenix out to try and snipe out that Lord real quick too, but you can see she's going to just start, now that everything else is on retreat, she's going to start taking the damage, and they're just not going to do anything about it, I guess. Always lovely. I don't really want these to move out like that. But, so you can see that first army repelled super easily, just pretty standard. Blast them with magic strat. Or, well, blast them with arrows. Hit them with a little bit of debuff magic. Yeah, taking so many losses here that they already got the buff. Okay, and this thing lost targeting on that. Not that the cavalry are the most deadly unit they have here, but I would like to kind of just... You want to be careful, right? I mean, we got these coming in on the flank. We'll see if we can cast a little bit of magic here on Malekith. But you can see it, especially for these cavalry that are kind of getting in ahead of the pack. Like this one's Dawn. Yeah, it barely even gets to hit my front lines. We're going to send Tyrion out there. We do still have Sunfang as well, so maybe we'll drop that down. Might be a little late on that. Malekith just taking stupid amounts of damage. Really could have casted another one of these, but we'll go for it now. Maybe get a little bit of a bombardment on him in the back. I want to make sure that these kind of don't really interfere with what's going on here. Could cast that comet here too, but I think we've already used up enough magic on that front. I'm not too worried about it. Hard to tell what's going on here sometimes too. Yeah, the cavalry just run their merry way right around their lines. We're just gonna rearrange everything here a little bit, but it looks like it's already over. I mean, it is already over. Like, that's... Yeah. So that's what that fight looks like, right? Again, these are kind of getting... You can see with the High Elves, and especially with the way I play, it gets to be pretty standard, right? You've got Lothern Sea Guard, and you've got archers, and you got a couple of bolt throwers. Target firing the bolt throwers can be pretty helpful, but the big thing is having like some sort of mage like that can debuff the enemies or buff your allies, and just using that, getting your heroes out in the front lines, getting, you know, this noble and getting Tyrion into melee combat just allows your archers, it bogs enemies down, and it allows you to shoot them just a ton. And so you could see even in this fight with, you know, they had Malekith on a dragon, and he pretty much turned out to be irrelevant, and here comes the reinforcements now. What a lovely surprise, but it's over already. So let's jump into the next one. Alright, so in this fight, I mean, maybe you can tell, maybe not, but we're pretty evenly matched here, right? Hero for hero, unit for unit. I mean, I feel that I have some unit superiority for sure. However, they do have those Doomfire Warlocks, which maybe not the most dangerous unit in the entire game, but they're certainly going to be a bit of a threat here. Okay. So what I really want to do is just kind of position myself in the back, like pack myself up against a corner, right? Pretty much what you'd expect in a situation like this. I really want to be careful because I know that they have that cavalry, so I want to make sure that my flanks are protected. And then we just kind of fill in the gaps. Spread things out a little bit here. Maybe throw one here. And get these two in the middle. So couple of concerns. The warlocks, the Doomfire warlocks, are going to be a bit of a concern. If you're not familiar with that unit, it's a magical damage dealing cavalry. So the cavalry units themselves aren't that dangerous. They're good damage, but they're very flimsy. However, they also have a Doombolt ability. Which, if you're familiar with that aspect of dark magic, I mean, it's just a comet, right? It's like a big comet that falls down. They have 2 castings of it. So, quite frankly, they're fairly dangerous, right? Like, that's a reasonable threat. So, if I can eliminate those, like, early, seeing we're firing off. To be honest, I am going to target down some of these Blackguard Corsair handbows. Those are going to be some of their better melee units early on. But if I can, I'd like to retarget on the Doomfire Warlocks. Because my archers are also gonna, like, Blackguard Corsairs have armor, but they don't really have serious protection. And if I can... like to make sure these all shoot at this, and I can also trap it, right? And so this happened last time as well. We can see the Beastmaster, who is, again, this is a very dangerous melee hero. We got the Doomfire Warlocks. They kind of pull off a flank here, but they don't really, I don't know. They're getting on the flank here, but they don't really do anything with it, which is kind of nice for me, to be honest. And then we just kind of go from there, right? I'm going to heal those up. I'm going to try to get these back. Get my hero back so we don't get hit too hard there. And there's your Doombolt. And you can see that that Spearman unit is just devastated by it. And so this is really not like a favorable fight for that Phoenix to take, but we don't want to give them too much time. Again, it's a little bit of a evenly balanced fight here, right? I mean, that Spearman unit might even be gone. So let's see. I want to try to target down some of these archer units a little bit more. Yeah, give my handmaiden that buff. There she is. Maybe see if we can put some damage on their lord. Not that that will matter that much, but gotta make sure my spearmen are continuing to be actively engaged. And you can see there's still... oh, that's my Lothern Seaguard retreating. But so the Beastmaster, I mean, you can see, okay, anti-infantry. I thought they would also get anti-large, but despite, like, although it looks kind of messy, I mean, you can see it already says it's in our favor here. Apparently this Phoenix chased something all the way off the map, but it doesn't matter. So here's a good example of how, like, an evenly balanced match with just a little bit of forethought, you know, despite not being perfectly executed, we come to a victory, right? Again, pretty standard, especially here if I'm playing defensively, using the terrain to my advantage, right? If they can't attack on this entire flank, I don't need to create as big of a surround. I don't need a full, you know, half circle line with my spearmen. I only need like a quarter circle. We probably lost that one spearman unit, but that's okay, right? It's a single spearman unit in exchange for wiping out a large portion of their army. And so we'll be able to kind of move forward. And even if I just back up and camp and replenish for 2 turns and just pull that spearman back in, we'd be able to move forward from there. And so that's a pretty good representation of what happened. With that, we're going to jump into the last battle for review here. Okay. So here you can see this fight, the upcoming fight against Malekith. This is when he first landed, like I said, with that kind of a weaker army. And I haven't fully reformed Alistar's army, but it does have those dragons in it. So we'll be able to see those in play. Hopefully get a better idea of what those look like. They're great. I expect it to look really good. So So we're going to kind of do the usual thing here. Try to get ourselves a little bit of a checkerboard. If I can figure one out for this. Although maybe we don't really need it. I think right here we're actually going to do a bit of a line. I don't love the idea of it, but... Well, I say that, so then let's not. Let's just make it not a line. Not the perfect checkerboard here, but should do just fine. We can get a couple of heroes out front. I don't know if I really want to expose that Lore Master too bad. Oh yeah, and so here's the one other thing. So they've got some bolt throwers, right? So I'm going to want these two bolt throwers to target that one. I'm going to want this one to just kind of fire away at whatever. Actually, not at whatever. We got Blackguard of Nag around. I want to focus those down. So we'll see. I mean, we got a lucky shot there. Looks like one of those is already crippled. A lot of the times I'll send the dragons off to flank their artillery as well, but I kind of want to leave them for now. How's this looking? It's sad that we got that one snipe on it right away. There's another one down. Yeah, I think I do want to... I'm going to want to send this dragon out a little bit, because this artillery I don't think is going to be very worth. Okay. Now this is going to be a bit of a wasteful dragon breath, but they are moving pretty slow, so we'll see how it lands. Ooh, that's pretty good. Now it might have been better for me to leave that dragon back, wait till they start hitting my lines here, but I'm going to be okay with that. We'll see if we can hit Malekith with this. I'm not hoping for much. Actually, let's try to... Well, I should try to double focus down some of those. Yeah, no, they're getting into our lines here. It's looking a little bit concerning, but that's okay. I need to find a good spot to pop off this dragon breath, though. Yeah, and it's even given us the victories in our grasp already. I think right there should be fine. Yeah. Yeah, and so again, not the most perfectly executed fight, perhaps, but still definitely going in our favor. I don't know why those pulled up a little bit, but that's okay. So as you can see, it's pretty much over, right? This is one where, again, just a decent formation, a couple of good units. I mean, you can see we're still a little bit in trouble on the right side, so maybe that's where it's thinking that we don't deserve the win yet. Malekith's getting some good spell hits in, but we just, I mean, I don't really know what else there is left to prove here. Maybe they think Malekith is still a decent enough threat. They do, there we go. Okay, I was gonna say, they do have some decent, like, troops on the front line still, doing some damage to me, but it should be over, right? Again, Spearmen taking a decent amount of damage, and that, frankly, just shows that it's time to switch them over to Phoenix Guard, right? And you can also see Alistar, maybe not the best warrior, but again, he was going up against Malekith. Overall, pretty solid fight, really good outcome. So that should cover it for all the battles over this turn. So we're going to get back in and just cover the wrap-up for this part, and then we will move on to the future and see what it holds. Okay, so now that we've reviewed the battles, let's just talk about what's going to happen. Like, what are we looking at for the next, with the next 30 turns? Well, the next part, right? Don't get too hung up on the turns. That's not the important part. The important part is, like, you can see this is a very clear time where, I've, except for this that just reappeared, I've essentially dealt with all the threats on this island. Yeah, this is a big yikes on that army. That's not going to be fun, but it's going to be a good challenge. See, that's a fight that we'll definitely want to showcase. But But so I've got control of the island, right? I've got a booming economy. I'm ready to recruit some more units into my army, stuff like that. But this is situated, right? We've taken care of all of our goals of just kind of wrapping everything up on the island. And at this point, I'm preparing to stage my invasion to the west. Now, you don't have to do this in your playthrough if you don't want to, right? I'd recommend it partly to have something for you to pass the time with, also because the more territory you take, the faster you get way fragments, as well as the fact that the Dark Elves have a couple of good ritual resource sites. There's one up here, and then there's one down over here. So you don't have to extend too far to get them. Furthermore, just a quick note that you can see these areas, the frozen regions, will cause attrition. And so this will come into play later, but if you're that's the reason why I'm saving this invocation of Isha, right, is because the immunity to attrition will help me to kind of push through these areas when I'm ready. But so that's kind of the plan, right? The start of part 4 is going to look like me invading this territory, right? Hopefully I can take this province first, the Broken Lands province, because it's just closest to my home, and this would originally have belonged to the High Elves anyway. This is where Nagaryth, the faction, would have started. I might want to, if depending on how my finances turn out, especially once more of this is built up, I would like to send a second party to kind of hit on the south side, maybe even wrap all the way around to the Bleak Coast. But we'll see. We're basically going to have to take this slow and bunker down, and there's going to be a decent amount of fights to push through to take it, right? But so next 10 turns is hopefully establishing a foothold on the Broken Lands, right? And then the big picture, right, might not be the next 30 turns. And in fact, depending on how progress goes, most likely once we get to turn 100, I'll probably start doing every 20 turns instead. Just because otherwise we're going to be repeating a lot of the same stuff that we've seen. And there's going to be a point where, especially if I bring, these 3 armies over, there's going to be a lot of auto-resolved fights, and there's just not going to be a lot to talk about. And the other thing is, at this point, you could just hold on to the island and wait, right? One of the things to know about these rituals is once a faction completes the 5th ritual that's not you'll have one last chance to fight them in the final battle, and if you can win that fight, it basically prevents that faction from winning the game. Like, if you don't fight that battle or you lose it, the other faction wins. If you play that fight and you win it, that faction can never engage in the ritual again. Now, again, I personally don't want to just wait it out until all the other factions complete their rituals and then lose. I'd rather push my way there myself as well. But just something to note, the fact that Nagarond appears to be further ahead isn't really that big of an issue, right? I mean, I've deflected their attempts to invade my island already. I'm about to start invading theirs and see how that goes. So we're just going to, even if we don't catch up to them in ritual materials, we're going to be stronger than them. Secondly, Tyrion's ready. When you fight the ritual battle, you just do it with one army. I would like Tyrion to be higher level at this point, and perhaps there's tricks I could have used to get him there. But even, what was Malekith level 11 down here? Yeah, so that's not really going to be an issue, right? Tyrion's got a bunch of quality, high quality gear here. Maybe I could even upgrade some of it. But he's got his tier 5 army. This is the army that I want going into the end game. I don't think I'm going to change any of these units. Again, if I had Sisters of Avalorn from the DLC, maybe we'd put those in. Maybe some Arcane Phoenixes, or maybe you just like dragons and you'd like to see 4 or 5 or 6 dragons instead of archers. But this is a composition I'm very comfortable with. I don't need to change this, right? This is what my armies are going to look like the rest of the game. Again, this is almost identical to Alistar's army, and I'm not going to change that one either. Alariel's kind of got a weird situation with the Sisters of Avalorn. These things are going to shred things. But so anyway, that's kind of what we like. I'm at that point, I'm not concerned. We could take that final battle, 10 turns from now. If it happened in the next 10 turns, I'd still be ready for it because this army's prepared for it. So, with that being said, if I wanted to, I could just sit on the island. I could just position somebody in every fringe province and just wait, just have Beyond End turn simulator, just hold shift and press enter to skip all your notifications and go straight to the next turn and fight the battles I need to fight and wait until it's over. Again, not really fun for me, not why I do it, just an option that you should be aware of as you play this game. Especially because depending on how comfortable you are and how familiar you are with the game, you might not be at this point at turn 90, right? This might be turn 150 for you, and you're still kind of cleaning up the last scraps of the Dark Elf invasion that was potentially more successful, right? And so at that point, everybody might be closer to the final ritual, and maybe by the time your map looks like this, the Dark Elves really are nearing it. So you certainly could play a little bit more defensively at that point, and even depending on how close you are, you could play defensively for a longer, like as long as you want, right? Just an option to consider. So now that we've kind of discussed, future plans and possibilities, I want to touch on all the regular stuff. We're going to go through technology. So I just finished this broadhead arrows. We're still kind of debating. And, my research rate is finally looking good. Yeah, it's just tough. I mean, I talked about this a decent bit previously. But there's, I think we're going to want to get this recruit rank, right? Because, but these other ones are much faster. Yeah, it's tough. Yeah, we definitely want to get this, right? This is like the next 10-turn research plan. We'll be able to get it done in that time. I wouldn't mind grabbing perhaps court advisors first. Like it's just tough because all of these are like recruit rank. Like this is going to be build time and cost. I don't need the cost reduction, but the build time would be really nice for progressing all of the stuff that I have going on. Yeah, but the province capital settlement buildings, yeah, we don't really need that build time. I keep changing my mind here. We got here recruit rank for lore masters and nobles, mages. I think we are good. We're going to get this. No. We're going to grab this first. Then I want to grab the recruit rank for all these units so that all the future armies that I build, like this I can get quicker, right? So I want to get this just to start, like when I make a new army, get a new hero, they start off a little better. The first army that I make will have more time for the recruit rank to go up, but then I want to get this next to get the recruit rank up for these troops. I probably would then grab Arcane Studies and Magical Infusion. Actually, I'd grab Maritime Empire, Unite Local Nobility. I'd grab these two, and then I'm going to want the upkeep for those kinds of units. It's kind of all over the place. Maybe you could change it depending on your preference. Construction costs for all. Of course, there's going to be some trade good advancements, but it depends on what you have. I actually think we should grab these as well. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I still need to get here. But I'm going to prioritize the recruit rank for my heroes here. This I don't feel I need as much because I have the White Tower of Hoeth, which already provides a significant boost. I want to get this because I don't have as big of boosts for some of these units right now. And just to make my army units stronger, like right off the bat so that they survive better. We'll grab... Yeah, we're actually going to have to grab these first because that just but I don't need construction costs and income as badly. Yeah, unit recruitment rank first, then probably economy stuff, then try to grab some more like armor for weapon strength damage for all of my different units that I'm actively using. That's the research plan. For skill tree review, there hasn't even been that much growth, so it's tough to have stuff to review. This is kind of what the handmaidens look like. I mean, there's really not much diversity here. We just are going to level up all of their combat skills. Do we have any higher ranking nobles? We really don't, huh? I mean, again, simple combat stats. Lore Master of Hoeth. These are more of a hybrid unit, so you kind of build it depending on what their role is in the army. Since Ilariel's a spellcaster, I want to make this one as much of a melee combatant as I can. In Tyrion's army, the Lore Master is focused more on their magical abilities. Even though we have a mage, right? It's better to have two mages, right? Mages, again, pretty singular. There's not a lot of decision making to be had here. But yeah, so I've got, healing spell on this Lore Master. I've got a buff, and then I've got a single target spell, and then we're going to start getting some of these other bonuses, like Winds of Magic Power Reserve, to kind of help boost even the power of this other mage. So that's what the skill trees look like there. Again, there's nothing too special here. Tyrion, I'm still working on his solo tree. I've got all of his particulars. I've got all of his unique armor. I did grab this because, of course, with the focus that I have on missile units, we're going to want that. And maybe we'll get, if we can, try to grab, Master Strategist into Rally, into some of these bonuses for higher ranked units. I mean, missile strength for all of my missile units and armor and missile resistance. That'd be pretty good. But we'll see if we can get there. I really like, if I can make Tyrion very, very strong. He's already pretty ridiculous. But the more we can up him, the better it'll be. Especially for fighting people like Malekith and other Dark Elf lords, like legendary lords. Crone Halibron, Malice Darkblade, for example. Those will be tough. The one other one I want to look at is... where is he? Altharion? There he is. Because I haven't discussed his at all. And Altharion has some really sweet economic, unique bonuses. So, like this one right here. Construction time reduction for wall and garrison buildings, and construction cost minus 25% for wall and garrison buildings. That's insane. That's so good. I'm honestly wondering if he has... No, he doesn't have any bonuses on those. This is a really good bonus. Altharion's a great lord to confederate. It looks like the rest of these are all just for Lord's army. Yeah, I don't have any Mistwalkers. But so I'm just trying to build him out on the spellcaster tree now. I was building this lore master out on the spellcasting tree, but I definitely should be building them more on the melee tree. And as soon as I can, I need to get a noble into this army. So, not too much. Yeah, there's really not too much to see with the skill trees. My characters aren't leveling up super fast compared to the pacing of this game. But again, that's partly because of the more diplomatic style that I've played, right? My course here has been to kind of confederate and make friends with a lot of people. And I said, how many turns was I on the fence about Illyrian? And then for a couple of turns, I said I was going to go to war with them because that was going to be simpler. And then all of a sudden, putting away the Sword of Cain, completing a few research, getting a couple skill trees, and now they're happy to confederate with me, right? So a bit of a turnaround there, which is kind of nice. Yeah, finances are in great shape. We've discussed army compositions. You can always use a couple more dragons if you want. Since the Phoenix Guard, the Lothern Sea Guard can perform the same role, you don't need as many Lothern Sea Guards and could take more archers, or just cut the archers and put in dragons. There's other options as well, but again, these are what my end game armies are pretty much all going to look like. It's just what works well for me. Force in engagement in melee with your bolt claw throwers. Use your dragons to either flank, take out their artillery, or to just wipe out their infantry pretty easily. Use your missile units to damage them heavily as they progress inward. So I feel like there's not too much more to discuss there. For the next 10 turns, for the immediate goals, like I said, what I want to do is launch an invasion of this province. It's hard to say if I'll be able to take it in the next 10 turns, because I don't know what's out there, right? I don't know if they've got a bunch of their armies here, or if they're busy fighting the Lizardmen down here. I know that Nagorond has an army up here somewhere, because I had seen it a few turns ago with this hero unit. But it's hard to say where that might be. They might even have a couple of black arcs floating in the area. So we'll see how it goes, but that's the goal, right? Just kind of finish positioning my armies here, fend off this attack from Malekith, and launch my invasion. So that's our goal for the next turn. That will, however, mark the end of part 3. Like I said, I think we're in a great place. Again, this is a point where, really, if you can make it to this point, you don't need my help anymore. At worst, you just sit on the island, click end turn a bunch of times, fight a handful of battles, either by invasions or by rituals, or the final ritual battle that you have to play out. At best, you take over half of the Dark Elf territory and completely cripple them before the end of your campaign. And of course, that's what I'm going to do. Again, that's what's fun, right? This is called Total War, not Total Peace. So I'm going to get over there and start messing with them as best as I can. So we'll get to that in the next part here. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below. I look forward to hearing what you have to say. I hope that this guide has been useful to some people out there, giving you some ideas of how to progress the campaign and what it looks like. And with that, we will catch you all in the next part.